Hi guys, good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Can you all hear me?
Yes, Praveen.
Hello, hi Praveen. Good
Hello,
afternoon.
hi,
We can.
good afternoon. Okay, let's just to wait for another few minutes. I'm expecting few more people to join. Okay, so meanwhile others join, I want to know from which locations you all have joined. You can just ping here, or if you want to speak, you can also speak. Okay, Gurgaon, Mumbai, Hyderabad, from Nepal, Kushilal from Nepal. Great. Mumbai, New Delhi, Hyderabad, Guntur, Mumbai. Dina joined from Auckland, New Zealand. Okay, I think we can start now. Of course, I'm expecting a few more people, but that's okay. So by the time they join, so let's get started. So let me share my screen. Can you all see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes, Praveen.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much for joining this session. Before we get started, let me introduce myself. So my name is Praveen Karder. I have over 12 years of experience in the field of database and data analytics, and I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, and I'm also a Microsoft certified Power BI data analyst associate. And I have extensively worked on databases like SQL Server, MySQL, Snowflake database, and the msbi, Microsoft Business Intelligence, which includes SSIS, SSAS, SSRS, and also the Talent ETL tool and Power BI and cloud environments. Okay, and I have mostly worked on the development side of database where we write SQL code and we do the integration work by creating the packages, pipelines, and all of that. And I worked on the data analytics side where I worked on Excel, Power BI, SSRS, right, Tableau. So this is my work experience in brief and my hobbies. So I read and I explore on data analytics tools and what is happening in the field of data and data analytics. So, and of course, I love watching movies and I love watching theater plays. So this is about me in brief. Okay, so if you can also just let me know through the chat, like how many years of experience you have, or do you have any experience on Power BI? Let me understand all of you before we proceed with the Power BI. Few people says no experience, no experience, fresher. Okay, okay, no experience as of now. Looking forward to learn. No, I don't have any experience, but you might be having experience on Excel, right? You would have worked on Excel, all of you, at some point of time. If you are, even if you're a fresher or if you are working professionals. Someone says Poonam says he has 15 years of working experience. Okay, so what are you working on, Poonam? Are you currently working on any reporting tool?
So currently, I'm working as in in the process excellence field. However, work on Excel only majorly, but not on any tools like Power BI or something. But I do use Minitab.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay, thank you. Okay, that's great. Looks like we have a kind of mixed crowd and many people new to the Power BI. And of course, as Poonam said, she's working on Excel. And earlier, even when I started working on database and data analytics, right? So we used to mostly do our reporting on either Excel or SSRS, right? And of course, there are other tools also, but these were mainly used mostly. But since today we have a lot of tools, so one of them is Power BI, which is even more capable than Excel and other tools. So let's come to that anyway. Okay, so let's get started with Power BI. Before we get into the hands-on work, right? So let's understand few basics about Power BI. Okay, so what is Power BI? What do you understand by Power BI?
Power BI for me is the full form as um, intelligence, business intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
and it's something that it's something that we can quickly create a dashboard, or in case if we need to produce any data for anyone in the business, we can also create quickly without any hassle, I guess. And that's how we can see the graph instead of taking a lot of time in manual things. So I think that is a quick thing that I've heard so far. So yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So one point is it's a business intelligence tool, right? Okay. And also people say here that data visualization tool. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
What else?
I think it is a tool used for large data sets and which helps for data analysis and visualization. Yeah, that's what I know about.
Correct. Yeah. So basically, so if you have to define Power BI, so this is not the only definition of Power BI, but this is one of the definitions which closely explains everything about Power BI, right? So what it says, Power BI is a data visualization and business intelligence tool that converts data from different data sources to interactive dashboards and BI reports, right? So basically, it's a data visualization tool. What is data visualization tool? If you have a data in any form, raw data, like maybe in your CSV format, Excel format, JSON, XML, any format, so this will help you to show that in a graphical way, so that the users or the end users or your business users will understand your data properly, right? So that is the data visualization part of it. And it's also a business intelligence tool. Why it is called as business intelligence tool? Because based on this data, based on the business processes data, decisions are made, right? It helps to make better decision making process, right? So if you have proper data, you have, it's like a kind of proof or a justification for your decisions you have. So that's why it is called as business intelligence, right? And also it converts data from different data sources to interactive dashboards and BI reports, right? Of course, like any other reporting tool or the data visualization tool, it also gets data from different sources and it creates interactive dashboards. This is important. If you take, for example, Excel, in Excel also, of course, you can create a visualization, right? So you have your charts, pie chart, you have column chart, bar chart, all of that you have. But there, what is lacking is the interactiveness between the visuals is not possible. Anyway, we'll come to it, what is interactiveness between the visuals later. But at the very high level, upon clicking on a particular visual, taking that data point, it will also filter out data in the other visuals. Okay, other visuals in that page. So the next thing is, Power BI is not just one tool, right? Or one software. It is made up of software services, apps, and connectors, correct? They all work together, right, to create these reports or dashboards, right? So it's like, it is not just one tool or one application. It is made up of different applications or different apps, different services, or different connectors to connect to different data sources. Okay, so we'll come to that. We'll see what are those in a while. So this is a simple graphical representation of where your Power BI will fit in your entire data architecture. So these are your sources, right? Different sources. I've just mentioned few here, but there are hundreds of other sources which you can use to connect to Power BI. So these are your sources, and here you have your Power BI. Here you'll create your reports. And then once you create your reports or dashboards, you'll publish them to the Power BI service. And from here, your end users or business users will consume those reports or dashboards, right? Then next comes is why Power BI, right? So there are so many tools in the market, right? So as I said, there are so many different reporting tools or data visualization tools in the market. Why Power BI? Anybody, any answer? Anybody knows why should we use Power BI? Yes, Noel says Power BI is a business intelligence tool developed by Microsoft. Yes, of course. This is the Microsoft's product. It is Microsoft Power BI. Why Power BI? Why should we not use other reporting tools or the data visualization tools? Have you seen this one, this quadrant? Has anybody seen it earlier? or have you heard about Gartner? Okay. This is called as Magic Quadrant. Okay, this is released by Gartner. Gartner is a firm, right? They do a lot of research or analysis, surveys on the emerging technologies, the existing software tools and all of that, right? So they, in every field, if you take data and data analytics, business intelligence platforms, SaaS platforms, and many other platforms, they do surveys every year, and they will rank the products in the market, all the available products in the market, based on many parameters that they consider while ranking them, right? So there are four quadrants: niche players, visionaries, challengers, and leaders. And if you see here, Microsoft is in the top spot under the leaders quadrant. That means in the field of analytics and business intelligence platform, Microsoft Power BI is considered as the #1 tool. This is one of the reasons that we can blindly consider Power BI as our data visualization tool, right? And of course, they would have considered a lot of parameters in ranking this, right? And what you see here are all the different data visualization tools that we have today, right? So we have Tableau also, which is very tough competitor to Power BI. Salesforce Tableau, Qlik, we have ThoughtSpot, we have TIBCO, we have Sisense, right? We have Google, MicroStrategy. There are so many. Okay, this is one of the reasons. Noel asking about the difference between Power BI and Tableau. We'll come to that later, Noel. And Power BI is named as the leader for the last 5 years, continuously, right? And this quadrant you see is of 2022 actually, but in 2023 also, Microsoft Power BI is named the leader, okay, in the field of analytics and business intelligence platforms. Next thing is it supports large number of connectors. When I say connectors, connecting, these are the kind of endpoints where you connect to the different data sources, right? So in your organization, you might be having data in different places. Maybe it is in RDBMS system, maybe it's in file system, maybe it is coming from an API, right? So there can be so many data sources, right? So Power BI has large number of connectors to connect, right? So compared to other tools, for example, compared to Excel, so there are limited data sources you can connect to, but here, whatever data source you name it today you have in the market, there is a connector available in the Power BI to connect to it easily, right? That is one of the one other reason to use Power BI. And of course, the interactive visuals, as I said, upon clicking on a particular visual, taking that data point as a filter, it will filter out the data in the other visuals in that dashboard or in the report. And it support data transformations, right? So we'll see this also in a while. If you have data which is not structured properly, right? Or you have very raw data and you want to convert that so that you can create better visuals, that you can do. It supports data transformation and ability to create and manage data models. So we'll see this also. Like, it is not that when you think of becoming a data analyst, right? So it is not just that taking some data from somewhere and just do some tweaks and then create visuals. So there is also a lot of other things. One of them is data modeling, right? So you have to create your data sources or data sets in a way that you can efficiently get insights out of it, right? So there is something called dimensions, there is something called fact, right? And also in data modeling, there is something called snowflake schema, star schema, right? So these are all things that are possible in Power BI, right? Then of course it supports DAX. What is DAX? DAX is data analysis expression, right? It is a language which is built into the Power BI, which is very, very powerful. Like we have formulas in Excel, right? So here there is something called DAX, correct? But it is more powerful and more functional than Excel formulas. There are so many formulas, so many functions available in DAX compared to Excel formulas, correct? Of course, DAX is available in Excel also. Those who have used Excel in a very advanced level, they would be knowing it. But if you have not used, but yes, that is what it is. And next thing is, there are large number of default visuals, right? So it gives you plenty of visuals using which you can visualize your data, and also it supports custom visuals. When I say custom visuals, there is kind of a marketplace within the Power BI where you can just go browse for a visual which you like, right? If you have a specific requirement, but that cannot be fulfilled using the existing or the default visuals. So you can go to that marketplace and get some of those visuals which you think will fit into your requirements. Then you can use that, right? So those are the visuals which someone else has created, right? And also you can create your own visuals, right? But anyway, that we are not covering in today's session because that is part of the advanced level. So, but that is possible. And next, it supports Python and R, right? You might be, you might have heard about these languages, right? Python and R. These are mostly used in data science, right? And Power BI supports these two, right? Python and R themselves, as an individual language, they are more capable of doing a lot of things in data analytics, right? But just think of putting them or integrating them with the Power BI. So the possibilities are endless. So because of all these reasons, so we use Power BI. Any questions till now? Anybody? Okay, so whenever we are working with Power BI, there are 3 core areas, so right? So we have to start working in that way, in these 3 core areas, right? First area is data preparation and analysis. Next one is visualization, and the third one is collaboration and sharing, right? So we have to go in this order. You have to in the first phase, data preparation and analysis, you have to get some data from your sources, and you have to analyze and see if that is good to create your visuals, right? Or to visualize that data properly. If not, you have to make some little tweaks, right? So that's what is the data preparation and analysis, right? There also data transformation is also included in that. Next is visualization. Once you have that data ready, you need to visualize that data so that the people who are looking into those visuals might understand data better, right? So that is what is the visualization. And once you create visualization, you need to share this result, right? These reports with someone within your organization or outside the organization. And also you should be able to work within your team collaboratively. When you have many people in your team, you should be able to work along with them, right? In large environments, enterprise environments, there won't be single person working on data analysis, right? There will be many people. There will be a team of 10, 15, 20, 30, right? So how do you collaboratively work with them? Suppose you create a report today, right? Or a dashboard today, and you share it to the user, and there are some changes. Okay, user has suggested some changes, but you're not there next day to make that changes. Maybe you're on sick leave or you're on vacation, whatever. There should be someone else in your team should be looking into what you have done, and he should be able to deliver that, right? So that is what is the collaboration that is possible with Power BI. Okay, of course we'll see this in detail later, but these are the 3 core areas that we should be working on whenever we start off working with Power BI. Okay, and there are some core tool sets within Power BI. Like as I earlier said, that Power BI is not just one tool. So there are different tool sets within Power BI. I have listed 6 here. but we will be looking into only these two today. Okay. Power BI Desktop, Power BI Service. What is Power BI Desktop? It is the Windows only application. So you need to, whenever you are working on Power BI, you need to install this within your machine, in your machine, wherever you are working on, right? And this is absolutely free. You don't have to pay anything to use it. You just need to go to the Microsoft site and download from there and install it. So you are good to go, right? So all the development, report development or dashboard development will happen within this application, which is Power BI Desktop. Okay. Once you have installed it and you have connected to data source and you created your dashboards or reports, you should be able to publish it to some place where users will be looking into it, right? So that is your Power BI service, which is the cloud environment, which is provided by the Microsoft, of course, but this is not free. If you have to share your report to the cloud and from there to your end users, so you have to purchase a license here. Power BI Desktop is free, but Power BI Service, which is the cloud environment, which is not free, you need to purchase a license. There are different licensing models. Simplest licensing model is Power BI Pro license. Okay, and it costs around $9.99 per month per user, and it is very, very cheap. That is one of the other reasons why people go for Power BI. Since we have here, let me explain these as well, but we are not covering this. Next one is the Power BI Mobile. Power BI Mobile is just a mobile application, right? You just need to install it from your Play Store or from the App Store. And once you have the license on the Power BI service, it is a website login based service, right? So like you log into your Gmail account or your Facebook account, like that, you will have a credentials, username, password, using which you need to log into Power BI service. Using the same credentials, you can log into that mobile application, right? Whatever you have in the Power BI service, that can be seen or visualized in your mobile itself, within your app itself, mobile app itself. That is what is the Power BI Mobile. And there is something called Power BI Builder. Again, this is another tool that you need to download from the Microsoft site and install it, like you have installed the Power BI Desktop. But this is mostly used for creating the paginated reports, right? Paginated reports as in you have a tabular reports which runs hundreds of pages or thousands of pages, which you print at the end, or your end user prints them. So in such cases, we use this report builder. Okay. And there is something called Power BI Report Server. This is very equivalent to the Power BI service. The Power BI service is the cloud environment provided by the Microsoft, right? And this is same as Power BI service, but this you can configure, install and configure within your organization's network. When do we use this? Let's say you have a sensitive data. Let's say, for example, you are a banking organization, right? You do not want to expose your data to the cloud. Of course, Power BI service, Microsoft Cloud is very, very secure. There are different layers of security. But still, if you do not want to take a chance, or if you do not want to expose your data to the outside world, you can have this Power BI service within your network by installing the Power BI Report Server and configure it. Okay. And next one is Power BI Embedded. So this is also a service again, which is used to embed your visuals and reports or dashboards into an application, be it your mobile application or website application. There you can embed your Power BI dashboards. Okay, so if I have to give you an example, you would have seen some of the websites during the COVID time. There you would have seen some of the charts, right? By geography, by country, by state, by city. If you click on some visual, that would change the numbers in the other visual, right? Something like that. You can embed your visuals in the website or the app, mobile applications or any other applications. That is when the Power BI Embedded used. Okay, so don't worry about these four, right? Right now, most of the people, I would say 80 to 90% of the people do not use these, right? if you know only these two, you're good to work on Power BI. So these are the two things that we are covering in today's and tomorrow's session. Clear? Any questions till now? Can we use Power BI service with Azure free subscription? You can use Power BI with, I think, some of the Microsoft 365 certifications, but I'm not sure if you can use it with the Azure subscription. And of course, for free, you cannot use it, but Power BI itself will give you 60 days of free time, right? So you can use it for free for 60 days. And after that, of course, you have to pay. And there are 3 core views as well. Let's see them in the Power BI itself. Okay. So if you do not have any questions, let's move to the Power BI. Hope you all have installed the Power BI desktop. I think few people, I think 2 or 3 people who have joined from the different channel would have not installed it. So let me share you the link. Here I've created a document. Here I've explained step by step how you need to download and install the Power BI. It's pretty simple. I'll just show you here also. Just type Power BI. Desktop download in any of your browser. You will see this link. Click on this Power BI desktop. Here, click on download. Here you need to select 64-bit or 32-bit based on your system configuration. Select one and click on next, and it will start downloading that exe file. Just double click on it and just accept the terms and conditions and rest leave the default options and click next, and it will install. So that's how simple it is. Okay, so those who have not installed, please install it, and except those 2-3 people, I think everybody else have installed it. Yes? Yes? No? Okay. So once you install it, just go to your search bar and type Power BI. You'll see this Power BI desktop. Click on it. You'll see something like this, right? Okay, so here, first option you see is get data. If you want to get data from any of the data sources, you need to click on this get data to connect to the data sources. This is the option, and if you click on this recent sources, it will show you if you had connected to any sources recently. Okay, then it will also show you the recent reports that you worked on, and you can also open the other reports from here. And here you will see some tutorials to get started with Power BI desktop, building reports and all of that. And right side you see some hyperlinks like what's new, what's happening in the Power BI. There is a forum where you can ask questions. There are a lot of people because Power BI is there for almost a decade now. So there are a lot of people, a lot of resources available on the Power BI. So any questions you have, you post on this forum, people will respond to your questions. Okay, and there is also a blog where if there are any latest news or the updates, Microsoft will be updating there. And also you have some, if you click on these tutorials, you have some tutorial videos and all of that, so you can also see them. Okay, so let me close this because we have this get data and other options inside as well. So let me close this from here. I'll show you this from inside Power BI desktop. Okay, so this is your Power BI desktop. Before we use the data and get that data, let me give you the overview of this Power BI desktop. If you see, it says untitled Power BI desktop. That means we have not saved this file yet. That's why it says untitled, and this is the Power BI desktop. Okay, here what you see, this big white space is called as your canvas, report canvas, like your painting canvas where you do your paintings. So this is the report canvas where you do painting, you do your visualization here. Okay, so this is called as canvas. And if you see something visualization here, this side, here you have all your visuals. These are the default visuals you have. You have your bar charts, column charts, line charts, pie chart, right? Waterfall chart, funnel chart, map chart, Gauss charts, table charts, matrix charts, all of them you have here. These are the default ones. Okay. And if you want to get more, as I was saying, if you think that the existing default visuals cannot suffice your requirements, you can click on these three dots where it says get more visuals. Just click on it. Click on get more visuals. See, it will open up this window here. If you see, there are a lot of customized visuals which many people have created and published here for the public use. See, there are so many visuals. You think of any scenario, you have visual for that, right? So you can just, how you need to, for example, you need to get this radar chart. Just click on it and click on add. It will be added here in some time. See, you see this, it is imported successfully and you can use it directly within your canvas. Okay, so these are the custom visuals which other people have created. And also, as I said, you can also create your own custom visual, right? There are different tools to use to do that, but we are not covering in that. But just for your information, you can also create your own visual. Okay. And here towards the right side, we have something called data. If you just click on it, it will expand. If you want to hide it, you see these arrow marks, double arrow marks, just click on them to hide any part of this, right? Like expand or hide. And you see here inside the data, you don't see anything because we have not loaded any data to this file, Power BI desktop. That's why it says you haven't loaded any data yet. And also here it gives you the hyperlink to get data. Okay. And if you see here, there is something called filter. Like how we filter data in the Excel, you can also filter data here, but here there are different filters like visual level filters, page level filters, report level filters, right? There are different filters. We'll come to that later anyways. Okay. And left side here, you see these three icons. If you hover your mouse on that, first one says report view, second one says data view, and the third one says model view, right? So if you click on this report view, you should be very careful in these three. So a lot of people, when they're starting with Power BI, they get confused with these views. If you click on the report view, you'll see your visuals, right? If you click on this second one, data view, you'll see the actual data that you have loaded to the Power BI desktop. If you click on the model view, here you will see the relationship between different data sets. Okay. So if you have to see your visuals, you need to be in this view, which is report view. And if you want to see the data, you need to be in this data view. And of course, for any data set you load here, they'll be appearing here. Just click on the one which you want to see the data, that you will see data here. And if you want to see the relationship between the data sets, click on this model view. Okay. And next, if you see here above, we have these things. What we see here: file, home, insert, modeling, view, optimize, help, and external tools. These are called as the menu tabs, right? Menus are tabs. And within those tabs, we have different sections. For example, here we have clipboard, we have data, queries, insert, calculations, sensitivity, share, something like that. Okay. So, and you know this, of course, like cut, copy, paste, all of that. And here inside this data, we have get data. We were seeing get data in the welcome page also, and you see get data here as well inside the data, and you see get data here also. If you click on this, if you click on this drop down, if you closely notice, there are two options here. Just hover your mouse on this icon and it is slightly highlighted, just the upper part. If you hover your mouse below on this text get data, this is highlighted. That means there are two options. Okay, so if you click on this below one, see whatever is highlighted now, you see these default options already. And if you click on the above one, it will open up another window where you have more other options. So we'll come to this in a while. Okay, but just be informed that whenever you see something like this drop down, you will have two options. And best thing about Power BI is for any options, you just hover your mouse. It will give you a short description about that, like what it actually does. And if I hover my mouse on it, it says connect to data from multiple sources. Okay. And here we have some of the other sources that like Excel, we have Data Hub, SQL Server. You can enter data directly manually here, Dataverse, and you have your recent sources if you have connected to any recent data sources, all of that, right? And under this query section, we have transform data. We'll see that also in a while, and you can also insert visuals from here, and we'll see these later. And under the insert again, we have new visuals and some AI visuals we have, and the paginated reports, Power Apps, and all of that. Yeah, and we have some elements that you can add to your reports, like you can add text boxes, you can add buttons, shapes, images, all of that you can add to your reports and dashboards. Okay, so we'll see these other things as we go further. So this is the overview of the Power BI desktop. And if you notice below, we see page 1, like we see sheet 1, sheet 2 in Excel. And if you can create multiple pages. Okay, so now this is one page, and you can click on this plus icon, it will add another page. If you click on plus icon again, it will add another page. And also you can rename these pages. See, how do you rename? Right click, you can just rename by clicking on this, or you can just double click on this to rename. Okay, just double click to rename. And if you want to delete any pages, just click on this cross icon to delete, or you can just right click and delete. Or you can also duplicate the page, right click, duplicate, it will duplicate this page. Okay. And if you want to add any visual to this canvas, how do you add? You need to be in report view and click on visual. Let's say I click on this clustered column chart. See, it will just add the skeleton of that visual to your canvas. And you can place this, just click, hold, and drag and place this wherever you want. Right? Let's say if you want to keep it in the center, and you also see these guidelines, this red line you're seeing, which will also guide you that whether your visual is aligned with the other visuals or with the page. Right? You can place it wherever you want. And you can also make it bigger by dragging like this. Like this. So based on how much small visual you create, how small visual you create, those many visuals you can add on your report page. But it doesn't make sense making any visual this small because you'll not be able to see any data. So it has to be at least a little bigger so that you can see what is happening with your data, right? So this is how we add the visuals. And of course, we do not have any data here to feed into this visual. So that's why here you don't see anything, and it is also skeleton. Let me delete this for now. Now what we do, let's get some data to work with this, right? So I'm sharing you a link. Okay, here is a link. Download this folder. There is a folder called data. Just download it and keep it in your C drive or D drive, wherever you want. If you see mine, I have it in C drive. Here I have this data folder. Under data, I have 2 more folders. Actually, if you download that data folder, under that you see 2 folders like US sales and international sales. Please let me know once you download that. Then that is the data that we'll be working with. I've just pinged you the link here. I'm just pinging again. It is in the Zoom chat. I've just pinged you again. Just copy it from here. Can you all access this? Let me know once you download it. Okay, few people say still downloading. Okay, can you please share this link on WhatsApp group? Okay, I'm sharing it here as well. Okay, can you please add me to the WhatsApp group? Okay, so I'm sending you a link here. Just please click on this link to join to the group. Okay, yeah. So one more thing, the Power BI desktop is Windows only application, right? Currently, it doesn't support any other operating systems like Mac or Linux. So if you have to work with Power BI, you need to have Windows operating system. Oh, are there any other ways to download and use it on Mac? No, there are no ways. Karthikeyan is asking, can we use web-based Power BI on Mac? If you use, are there any limitations on the feature side? Yes, there are limitations on the feature side. Like for example, you cannot use the data transformation in the web. You cannot use DAX, right? Those are available only in the Power BI desktop. Okay, and now they have launched. There is something called Microsoft Fabric, right? It's a big news now, and you would have seen it, many people talking about it. So that allows you, but that is not available for the public usage yet, I think, but it is in the preview, but that will be available very soon, using which you can use the DAX and also the data transformation. But currently with the version that we have, so you cannot do data transformation and you cannot use DAX. Okay, so under the data folder, you have these 2 folders, right? International sales and US sales. So before we start working with this data, let's understand what is this data, right? So here, this is actually a sales data. If you see under the US sales, we have a file called sales.csv. Under the international sales, we have sales for other countries. Okay, so this is actually a sales data of few manufacturers who are into toy manufacturing. Okay, and of course, this is a test data. So we are using this to work with Power BI. If I open this sales file, what do we have here? Product ID, date, zip, units, revenue, and let me. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns we have, right? So here we have the product ID, date, zip, and number of units sold, and the revenue generated from that sale. And if you see in this by dimensions file, you need to have both the folders, US sales and international sales. And under the by dimensions file, we have the product information, manufacturer information, and geographical information. Here we just have the product ID in the sales file. See, we just have the product ID. We do not have further information about this product, like what is the product name, what category does it come under, and who's the manufacturer and all of that. It's not there. We just have the product ID. But whereas we have that information in this Excel file, here we have the product ID, product name, category, and manufacturer ID and price of that product, right? And if you want to see who's that manufacturer details, who's that manufacturer, we just have the ID here, but we have further information of this manufacturer in this file, in this sheet, where we have the manufacturer ID, manufacturer name, logo, and all of that. Okay. And one more thing, if you notice in the sales file, we have the zip code, correct? But we do not have the actual details of the geography, like which country it is, which state, which city, all of that. But if you want to map that, we have that information in this geo column, the geo sheet. Here we have the zip code, then we have the country, city, state, region, district, and country. Okay, so this is the data we are going to use. And under the international sales also, under US sales, we just have the sales information of United States country. But under the international sales, we have the sales information for other countries. Those manufacturers are selling their product in these countries as well. And if I open this Australia file, you see we have the same data: product ID, date, zip, units, revenue, and country. Here we have one extra column, which is country column, just to indicate which country's data it is, right? Other than that, all columns are similar. And again, the product ID and zip and the manufacturer, so yeah, product ID and zip information is available within this folder, in the US sales folder. Okay, hope this is clear. Now let's go back to the Power BI. And here, let's get this data. First, let's load the sales data. To load the sales data, what you have to do? You need to click on this drop down, get sales data. And here we have different options. Like you need to first know what is your data source, right? In our case, ours is .csv. Okay. So here you should know whether yours is the CSV file or the Excel file or the JSON file or the XML file or any relational database or cloud environment. You should know that prior hand, right? So if you click on this drop down, few of the common data sources are already listed here: Excel, Power BI Dataset, Power BI Data Flows, Dataverse, SQL Server, Analysis Server, text or CSV, which is what we have to use now. That is already listed here because that is a common data source being used, and web, OData field, and blank query. If your data source is not there in this common sources, you need to click on this more. It will open up this window where you have lot other data sources, and they're all categorized like this: file data source, database. And I was talking about Microsoft Fabric, right? So this was not there earlier. Now they have added this also, like Lake Wave they have brought in recently and all of that. Of course, they are all in the preview mode, but you can still use them. If you click on the file, these are the file connectors. These were the connectors I was talking about earlier: Excel connector, CSV, XML, JSON, PDF, Parquet, SharePoint. Based on which file type you have, you need to select one of these connectors. And if you have your data in the databases, you need to click on database, and here all the databases available: SQL Server, Access Database, Oracle, IBM, MySQL, Postgre, Sybase, Teradata, SAP HANA. Any database you take for that matter, which are available in the market today, you have connector for that, right? How you need to do, just simply select the connector and click on connect, and give your credentials and it will connect to that. Power Platform, Azure, online services. If you go to the Azure SQL database, Azure Blob Storage you can connect to, and there are so many other services you can connect to. Online services, SharePoint online list, Exchange Online, Dynamic 365, Azure DevOps. There are so many other things you can connect to. If you go to the other, you can connect to web, SharePoint list again. You can connect to R script, Python script, like this. So there are so many connectors, and they anytime there is a new data source coming in the market, and Microsoft is adding those connectors here. So you don't have to worry what kind of data source you have to connect to Power BI. So I think there are more than 150 or 160 connectors to connect to data sources. Okay. Now, since ours is the CSV file, what is CSV, by the way? Okay. Comma separated values. Yes, CSV stands for comma separated value. It is a kind of, it is one of the file types, like we have the text file or the Excel file. Like that, CSV is also one of the file format, right? If you notice in Excel, if we have to separate a columns, how it is separated? By this vertical line, right? Whereas in CSV file, the column is separated by this comma. This is called as the delimiter. After the product, we have the comma, and here also after the product ID, we have the comma. That means this comma is the column delimiter. Okay, so but it is not only comma. You can have anything as your delimiter. For example, you can have @ as your delimiter. You can have dollar as your delimiter. You can have this vertical line as delimiter. But the same thing has to be in the data field also. Then only it will identify it as a column separator. Okay, but why it is named as comma separated values, I'm not sure, but it is not just it. You can use only the comma as a column delimiter, but you can use any text as the column delimiter. Okay, let's load US sales data first. Sales.csv. Since ours is the CSV file type, we need to select here under the Power BI. You can just click on this drop down and select the CSV or text directly, or you can click on this icon, or you can also click on this more to connect to that connector. Since if you do not find your connector here, CSV for example, just type CSV here. See, it will also show any connector with that name. For example, if I type SQL, it will show all those which contains the name SQL. In our case, it is CSV. So it is there, but if you want to see it, it is also there here under the files. Second one, text or CSV, click on connect. Now you need to select sales.csv, which is under your US sales folder. Select this, click OK. Once you connect to this, it will show you the preview of data. And if you notice, it has taken comma as the delimiter already. See, that's why you see wherever there was comma, you see this vertical line which is separating the values into columns. Right? Power BI has automatically identified comma as the delimiter. How it is done? By just going through some of the top 200 records, it has identified that. Okay, and also you see one more thing here, something called data type detection. What is data type, by the way? Sija says integer or string. Basically, data type is what kind of data you're storing in that column. Right? It is a placeholder to store your data. For example, if you are from any programming language background, you will create a variables, right? And you assign a data type like string or object or integer or float, double, something like that. So it is just what kind of data you store. To keep it very simple, either string or text or integer value. Why it is important? in Excel, what happens if we do not specify the data type in Excel specifically to the columns, right? If it is integer column, whenever you do mathematical operations, Excel will automatically convert that implicitly, right? By default, it will convert to the required data type and it will do the mathematical operation. Whereas in Power BI, it will not do like that. Either we have to let Power BI decide the data type by itself, or if you do not let it do that, we have to specify it ourselves, right? Then only you will be able to do mathematical operations. For example, since we're loading this data from the CSV file, all the data is in the form of text. Okay, for example, we have revenue column here. What if you want to see the total revenue, right, for a particular country or a particular category, product category? So if it is a text column and you do sum of the revenue, you will not get the result. It will throw saying that it is not an integer value. It has to be integer, right, to do mathematical calculations. So that is why it is important in Power BI. But good thing is, if you select this option based on first 200 records or based on entire data set, Power BI will automatically detect data type for each of the column. You don't have to worry about it. Technically, it will identify correctly, but logically it might go wrong sometime, but we need to correct it. Okay. So let's leave it at the first 200 rows. If you select based on entire data set, what it will do, it will scan all the records from that file, and then it will decide the data type. But since we have a lot of data, how much data we have in this? We have around 10,000 records. 10,000 is okay. Sorry, we have loaded sales, right? It's not 10,000. 15,000 records we have, but 15,000 is also a small number to Power BI. When you have a lot of data, like millions of records, then you should not be using that because it will take some time. Okay, or you can also select this do not detect data types. If you select this option, it will not detect any data type. You have to assign later the data type to each of the column. But let's leave the default option based on first 200 rows. Let's ask Power BI to identify the data types for now. And next we have three options here. First one is obviously the cancel one that we already know. And we have load and transform data. What is load? If I click on this load, based on these settings, the data from my sales.csv file will be loaded into this Power BI desktop file here. Okay. If I click on transform data, instead of loading my data directly here, it will take me to another window. Let me click on the transform data and show you. See, it has opened another window which is called as Power Query Editor. If I just minimize it, you see here what I have behind is Power BI desktop. What is opened now is Power BI Power Query Editor. Okay, so let's come to this in a while later. Let me close it and redo it again. Not now. But it is still there here. Let me. I'll tell you what it is later. But let me redo it again. Click on text. Select the sales.csv. If I click on load, for example, instead of clicking on transform data, see it is loading the data. Now it is loaded the data, and here under this data section, you see sales data set created. If you click on this one, this arrow drop down, now you will see all the columns from that data set: date, product ID, revenue, and unit and zip. Okay, and also now here, since we have not created any visuals, we don't see anything here. It says build visuals with your data. But if you want to see this data, you need to click on this data view. Click on it. So now you will see all your data here in this data view. If I click on this model view, Here, since I just have only one data set, it is only showing one. If I have few more data sets and if there is any relationship between them, it will just show with that relationship as well. Okay. Now, let me click on it again. Now, when we load the data, whenever everything is fine, then we load the data directly to the Power BI desktop. Then we'll start creating our visualization. If there's any changes that we have to make to the data, then we click on transform data. It will take us to the Power Query editor where we will make the data transformations. Okay, but now let's look at this data. Let's see if this is correct or not. I think it looks fine except one column, which is zip column. If you see the zip column, some of the values are of 5 digits and some of the values are of 4 digits. It looks not correct, right? So let's verify this with the source data as well. 7649 is the value here. If I go to the source file here, 7649, if you see, we actually have 5 digits. So even in India, we identify a location with a zip code or pin code, 6-digit pin code, right? If you have 5 digits or 4-digit pin code, then it's not correct. You cannot identify a location with 5 or 4-digit pin code in India. Like that in US also, you should have 5 digits of zip code. But even though we have 5 digits here in the source file, even this one, this one, this one, it is showing only 4 digits here. So there is something has gone wrong. So we need to correct it. So before loading the data to the Power BI desktop, we need to correct it. So in such cases, we click on transform data. Okay, once you click on transform data, you can also go to that Power Query editor from here under the home section. We have this transform data. Click on this. If you click on transform data, it will open Power Query again. So in the Power Query, you have option to change that data type, change that data, or do your transformations. So before doing that, let's see. Let me give you the overview of Power Query editor as well. First thing, what you see here, the left side under the queries are your data sets. These are called as queries, data sets, or tables. So I will be using these names interchangeably: queries, data sets, or tables. If I load one more query or table or data set here, that will be appearing right below this. And once you click on that query or data set, you will see your data here. Whatever data you had seen, you have in your source that you see here. Then right side, we have properties. Under the properties, we have the name, and you can give some description to this, and you can enable load or include in the refresh report. We'll see these options later, but you can change the name of this data set and give the description. You can also double click on it and change the name, or right click and click on rename and change the name of this data set, or you can simply change it from here as well. Then next important thing is these applied steps. So any operation we do here in the Power Query editor is considered as a step, right? So now what we have done, we have just loaded the data to the Power Query editor, right? We have come to the transform data, but it has already added 3 steps. Ideally, there should not be any steps because we have not made any changes here at, right? But based on the configurations that we selected when we were loading the data, Power BI has created these steps automatically. If I click on the source, you see, this is how we had the data earlier, like product ID, date, zip, units, and revenue. And under that, we had the data, the text data. And if you see all the column names, there are no proper column names like column 1, column 2, column 3, and all. And you see this little ABC, ABC, ABC here. They indicate the data type of that column. Currently, ABC means text. Currently, they have Power BI has identified, like initially at the source, all the columns had the text data type or the string data type. Then what Power BI did, it understood that the first line is not the data, it is the column header. So it has added one more step called promoted header. So it promoted the first row as the header. If I click on this step, you see here, it has promoted that first row as the header. Now you see the column names, product ID, date, zip, units, and revenue. Once it does that, now it has checked again, because we had asked it to identify the data types of the column based on top 200 rows. So it has thought that all the columns might not be text or string. Based on this data, it has changed the data type for these columns. If I click on this step, change type, you see here we have all ABC, ABC, ABC. If I click on change type, you see 1, 2, 3, date 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1.2. It has scanned the data and automatically identified these data types. Okay, since we have 254.5725, something like decimal value, that's why Power BI has added this as 1.2, which is decimal point. And this is the whole number, that's why it is 1, 2, 3. Zip is also whole number, that's why 1, 2, 3. And here we have the date, that's why it is added the date data type, data type. And for the product ID, since it's a whole number, it is added the 1, 2, 3. Okay. That's about these steps. And if you want to delete any of these steps, you see this little, once you hover your mouse on it, you see this red cross icon. You click on it, it will delete the step, but don't delete it because it will also remove this change type step as well. You will have to again change them manually. Okay. And above, we have again home, transform, add column, view, tools, and these are the menu tabs we have. And under that, we have different sections. Like under home, we have new query, data source, parameters, query, manage columns, reduce columns, sort, transform, combine, and AI insights. Within each of these sections, we have different options. So these options are called as transformations, right? These are used to transform your data. Okay. If I click on this transform section or transform tab also, we have these options. Different options, in fact, any column, text column, number column, date column. Why these are named like this, text column, number column, date column? Because these are the transformations which can be applied on the text column. And these are the transformations which can be applied only on the number column. And these are the transformations which can be applied only on date or time column. That's why they are named like that. And under any section, whatever transformations we have, you can apply these transformations on any column irrespective of its data type. Okay, and you'll see some of these transformations repeating in the add column as well, but what do they signify? So we will see that later in a while. Now let's come back to our issue, that 4 digits zip code, right? If I go to this previous step here in the applied steps, if I click on this promoted headers, you see we have 5 digits here already. But when it has changed the data type, it has removed that leading 0. Because since all these are numbers, Power BI is thinking that these are the whole numbers, and it has assigned the whole number 1, 2, 3 as the data type, whole number as the data type. So in the numbering system, leading zeros do not have any value. That is the reason it has removed the previous 0. If you see here, it is there whenever it was text. Whenever it is changed to integer or whole number, the 0 is removed. Technically, it is correct. As I said earlier, technically, it will identify the correct data type. But logically, in our case, it has to be 5 digits, because here in the source also we have 5 digit, and even if we see here also for USA we have 5 digits, and if I search for 0 7649, match the entire cell content. You see here also for the United States, sorry, we have 5 digit number. So if you have 4 digit here in the Power BI, you will not be able to, whenever you match this data with that geographical data, you will not be able to fetch that record like you do it in your VLOOKUP or HLOOKUP, right? There you give the array and then the matching columns and then exact match or the not exact match, true or false, something like that. It is like exact match. Whenever there is exact match, then only it will identify that record. So that is the reason we have to make it 5 digit only. So how do we make it? Now we know that it was text. Since it is changed to the integer, it is the 0 is removed. So to bring that 0 back, what we have to do? We have to change this data type to text. Okay, how do we change? There are different ways of changing it. First, if you are here in the home tab, under the home tab, under this transform section, there is something called data type. Can you see this, all of you? And currently it is whole number. If you click on this drop down, you see all other available data types. For example, decimal number, fixed number, percentage, date, time, all of this. So you can choose any one of these according to your data. In our case, it has to be text. So if you click on text, it will be changed to text. This is one place you can change the data type from here, or you can also click on this, right click on this column header, in fact, and you see change type. There is an option called change type, and you can also select text from here. This is the second option. First option is from here. Second option is from here, right clicking, go to the change type and click on text. This is the second option. Third option, you see this 1, 2, 3 icon, which is the data type icon. Just click on it, left click, not the right click this time, left click. Just click on it. Now also it will show you all the available data types. And we select the easiest one is this one, the third one. We select the data type whichever we want. We want it to change it to text, so we have to click on the text. Now what it is saying? Since there is already a step added to change the data type, it is asking whether you want to replace this data type in the current step or you want to add the new step. If I add the new step, what will happen? It will not bring that 0 back, because in this step it is already 0 is already removed and it is 7649. If I add the new step, just this 7649 will be changed to text. Let me do that. I'll click on add new step. See, this columns data type is changed to ABC, but still it has 4 digit only, because any step we add here will be directly dependent on its immediate previous step. Make a note of it. Any step that we add here will be directly dependent on its immediate previous step. That is the reason here there is no 0, 4 digits are there, and when I change the data type, it will just convert that 4 digit to text. That's all. It will not bring your 0 back. So we have to, that is why we have to change it in the current step, in this step, because in the previous step we have 0. Okay, so how do I undo this step that I have added right now? There is no Control Z or Control Z won't work here. You need to delete the step that you have added here recently. Either right click and delete, or just click on this cross icon to delete this step. Now we are back in the previous state of data. Now I go here, click on the text. Now I replace current. That means it will replace it in the current step. Now it has changed the data type to the ABC, and now I see 5-digit. Okay, so now I've made this change. Now under the home section, we have this close and apply option. Click on this drop down, you see 3 options, just apply. What does it mean is whatever changes we have done till now is still there in the Power Query editor itself. It has not moved to the Power BI desktop. In order to work with this data, we have to move this data to the Power BI desktop. In order to move this, we need to click on apply. If I click on apply, this window will remain open, but whatever transformations we have done here will be applied in this data set. If I click on close and apply, it will close this Power Query editor and apply these changes to the Power BI desktop. So let me do this, close and apply. Now it is loading again. Now if you notice, earlier we just had this summation mark for all the columns. Now only for product ID, revenue and zip, we have this summation mark. That means it's an integer value. And for the zip, it is not there. That means it is changed to text. You can also confirm this by clicking on this data and click on this zip column. And here you see this data type as text. Clear? Any questions till now? And someone has asked, why can't we select source on the right hand side option, and that can bring 0 for us? Do we always have to select text post updating the data? I did not get your question. Can you please unmute yourself and elaborate what do you mean by this?
Hi, Praveen. I just want to ask one thing. So you have selected text option by transforming the data, and then we are doing that.
Correct.
So why can't we just select the source? Do we not have to keep 0 at all? And that's why we are doing this? Is that the reason? Or is that something that we have to do always, the text option?
No, we don't have to do it always, because if you see, other than zip column, for units it is 1 to 3, for product it is 1 to 3, and for revenue it is 1.2. We are not doing anything to those. We are only changing it in the zip, because zip in any country is a fixed number of digit, right? Like in US it is 5-digit, in India it is 6-digit, in Australia I think it is 4-digit, something like that. So since Power BI has automatically detected data type for this zip column as integer, it had removed the leading zeros, because in number system, leading zeros do not have any value. Even if you add 0 before 100, it is, even if you add 10 zeros before 100, the value of that is just 100. Likewise, it is thinking that it is an integer value and it is removing that 0. But it is technically correct. But logically, in our case, since it is a zip code that it has to be 5 digits, we should also need, we also need that 0. That is the reason we are changing it back to the text, so that we get 0.
I got your point. Okay, that makes sense now. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so once you do that, click on close and apply. You will have your data here. Now, if you see, still our Power BI desktop is not saved. Make sure you save it once you load the data. Click on the save icon. I'll save it here under the reports. I'll call this as 0610. I'll give today's date to PBA workshop 23/06/10. Save. And if you see the extension, it is .pbix, and all the data that we load to this file will be saved in that file itself, pbix file. Okay, can you all do this quickly? What we did, click on this get data, click on the text or CSV from here or from this more option, select the sales.csv either from here, click on connect, select the sales.csv from US sales, click on OK, and you'll see something like this. Instead of clicking on load, click on transform. It will take you to this window. Here, I showed 3 options of changing this data type. One, from being from the home section, this option, selecting the text, or right click on the zip column, go to the change type and select the text, or just click on this icon 1, 2, 3, or no, in your case it is 1, 2, 3. Just click on this, left click, you'll see text, select the text, and it will pop up whether you want to add a new step or replace current. Do replace current. Once you do that, you should see ABC right next to the zip column. Then come here to the home tab. First option, click on close and apply. It will load your data here like this. Then save your report as whatever name you can give. Let me know once you're done. Okay, Aditya, done. Yes, correct. Siddesh, that's right. And once you've done this, Siddesh, click on the close and apply, and then save the report. And if you have any questions in between, right, so you can ping me. I have another monitor here right next to me. I'll be seeing your messages as well. I've just disabled your chats to everyone just to avoid distraction. But whatever you ping, I'm seeing. Okay, done. Shall we move ahead? Kushilal says, is the report be empty right now? Yes. Once you load the data, Kushilal, you should see something like this. Right side under the data, you should see sales. Maybe it will be like this. If you click on this drop down, you'll see other columns, but here you'll see blank, empty, because you have not created any visuals. See, when we think of Power BI, right, or you ask someone Power BI, people will say Power BI is all about creating the visuals. Just take the data, create some pie charts, bar chart, graph chart, line charts, or whatever charts you want to do. But it's not only that. The major part, the more focus that we need to give whenever we are working on Power BI is transforming data. The Power Query editor, that is very, very powerful tool that we have. Because if you have the data in the proper format, then only you can make your visuals better. That is the reason I'm spending some time in making you understand what is Power Query and what are the things that we can do with Power Query. It is Power Query editor, and it is simply called as Power Query also. And surprisingly, for most of you, Power Query is available in Excel as well. How many of you have worked on Power Query already, or how many of you knew that Power Query is the exact same layout is available in Excel? But it's a plugin you need to add there, but it is there. You need to enable that option in the Excel, but it is there. Now, let's also load under the United Sales. We have one more file, which is by dimensions, which has the other dimensional data like the product information, manufacturer information, and then the geographical information. Okay, so what is the file type? Earlier it was CSV. Now what is the file type? Excel, XLSX, which is the Microsoft Excel worksheet. Excel file type. So now what connector we need to select? Instead of selecting text or CSV, now we need to select Excel workbook. You can select directly from here, or it is directly given here also. You can click on this as well, Excel workbook, or if you click on this more icon, it is available here also. Click on file, it is available here as well, right? So simply just click on this drop down. If that is available here in these options, any of your source connector, just select from here. If not, click on more and look for it. Okay, in our case, it is already available here. Let me click on Excel workbook. See, now it is only showing the Excel workbook, even though we have other file here, because we have selected the Excel connector. Click on this, click OK. Now, this pop-up or this dialog box is little different now. Here it is called as navigator. All the sheets, for example, whatever sheet we have, how many sheets we have? We have 1, 2, 3 sheets we have. Each of these sheets data is considered as one data set. You see here, geo, manufacturer, and product, 3 sheets. And if you click on each of these, for example, if you click on geo, you'll see the geographical data, preview of data here. If you click on manufacturer, you see the manufacturer data. If you click on product, you see the product data. If you notice one thing, in Excel, we just have 3 sheets, 1, 2, 3. Whereas here we see 4 data sets. Why? There is a reason for it. If you closely notice these 4 icons right next to these data sets, these 3, 1, geo, manufacturer, and product will look like sheets in your Excel file. Whereas this one is looking like a table. That means in any of the sheets, if your data or if your some of the area of your data is treated as table, then that will also be considered as one table along with your sheet. For example, here product, we have this data. Within the product, see if I click here, see here in the menu after the help, there is nothing. If I click anywhere in this area where we have the data, if I click here, you see table design gets enabled. That means this entire data area is converted as table. Okay, so if you click on this table design, you'll also see the table name as product table. That is what you see here as a separate data set. If at all I had one more table like this here and one more table here and one more table here, all these individual tables would be treated as one more data set here. Okay. In order to load these to your Power Query editor or to the Power BI desktop, you need to select these checkboxes. See, right next to these datasets, you need to select. Geo and manufacturer, of course, we need to load, but in the product and product table, they both have the same data. If you see the product, if you take the product sheet, it has data starting from here, like product details also it has. See, if I click on it, see the column names are not right. It has taken product details as the first column and then column 2, column 3 and all. It's not right. If I click on this product table, this data looks good because this is the actual data that we want. So that's the reason instead of selecting this product sheet, entire sheet, we'll select the product table. So I've selected product table, geo, and manufacturer. Okay. Now I'll just click on load this time. You notice here I just have sales data. If I click on load, here we should have other 3 data sets as well. Can you see? Sales is there, geo, manufacturer, and product is also now loaded. If you go to the data view and click on geo, you see geographical data. Click on manufacturer, you see manufacturer data. Click on product table, you see product data. And if you click on sales, you see sales data. Clear? Why the geo sheet is not loaded as table? Because that is not treated as table itself here, right? Here in the geo, if you see, if I click on this, in this area anywhere, you see that table design is not enabled. Right? Only here under the product, this is treated as table because the filters are applied on this. Even if I apply a filter on this, I think it will change it to, no, I have to select the entire column and then choose the filter, I think. Anyways, let's not worry about that right now, but it is not treated as table. That is the reason. this is not considered as a separate data set. Okay, so can you load this data as well, Excel data quickly? What we did, click on this drop down, click on the Excel workbook. Under the US sales, we have bydimensions.xlsx. Click that and click on open. Once you click on open, you will see navigator like this. Select the product table, geo and manufacturer. First three, leave just the product one, leave this, and then click on load. And you should see all those three tables here, and then save your report. Let me know once done. Done. What about others?
Sir, can you once show the difference between the logos which you just said when we are loading the data? There were two kinds of sheets, and the other one I don't remember the name. So what was the exact difference between the two?
Okay, let me do it again. If you see
Yes,
these three, they're looking like an Excel sheet, right? These icons,
right.
Excel sheet. But if you see the product table, it looks like a table.
Yes.
That is because this area, this entire area where we have the product data,
Yes.
is converted as table.
Okay.
That is the reason you see this table design, and also you see the table name.
Okay.
That is why this entire sheet is considered as one data set, right? And just this area where it is converted as table is considered as one data set. That is what you see here. This is the entire sheet, and this is just that table area.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're done with that, there is one more folder, right? So now we loaded data from the US sales folder, but we have one more folder called international sales. So what is the data type here? What is the file type here? CSV. And how do we load CSV data? How do we load it? Click here, select the text or CSV, then load the data. So if I do that, for example, let's say I use the same option, text or CSV. I go to international sales, I select Australia and click on open. It will just open up the same previous window what we had. But if you notice, all these files have the same data, similar data in fact. See, Australia also has product ID, say date, zip, units, revenue and country. Even Canada also has the same thing. Product ID, date, zip, units, revenue and country. Just the country name is different and the product information and the revenue is different, but column names are same. That means actually we have the same data. So is there any way that we can load all of this together instead of loading? If at all we do that earlier step, selecting CSV, one by one, you have to load it for 6 times. You have to repeat that option for 6 times. Is there any way that we can do it at a time? If I go here to the Power BI, click on text or CSV. See, I cannot select multiple files at a time. See, even if I hold Control or Shift, you cannot select multiple files. Only one file you can select at a time. So using that option, you cannot load all the files at a time. But if you go to this more option, under the file type, we have something called folder. Right? If I hover my mouse on it, what it says, import metadata and links about files in the folder. So if I click on this folder and connect, and it'll ask you to browse for that folder path. In my case, it is here, international sales. This is the folder. In this folder, I have all those files. Click on OK. Now click on OK. Now what it is showing? It is showing me the metadata of all those files available in that folder. What is metadata? information about those files. Data about the data is called as metadata, right? So like what is the content those files have, what is the name of the file, what is the extension, date accessed, date modified, date created, attributes in that file, and the folder path. All this metadata we see using that connection, folder connection, right? Now, if you see below, we are familiar with these options: load, transform, and cancel. Along with these three, we also have this new option, since we have selected the folder option, as combine. And there is a drop down. If you can notice, there is a drop down here. If I click on this, there are two options. One is combine and transform. Another one is combine and load. Like similar to this load and transform. Now what it will do, if I click on combine and transform, it will combine data from all these 6 files and go to the transformation, which is Power Query Editor. If I click on combine and load, it will combine data from all these 6 files and then load this data as one data set into your Power BI desktop. That is the difference. So now let's do one thing. Click on combine and transform data. Once I click on that, it will again take me back to the same window where it had opened when we had selected the CSV, because under that, inside that folder, we have the CSV files itself, right? That is why it has identified that. Okay, it has identified that, and it is showing you this option where it has identified the delimiter already, and also we have this data type detection based on the first row. But one new option you see here is the sample file. Like how do you want to, based on which file you want Power BI to identify this delimiter, also identify the data type. By default, it is first file, which is Australia file, but you can select any of these files based on the top 200 rows of any of these files. It will identify the delimiter and the data type. For our case, I'll just leave it as it is by default one, then click on OK. Okay, so it has opened the Power Query Editor in the background. Sometimes what will happen, it will open it in the background. So you need to see, come here. You need to click on this. It will open like this in the background. And here, if you notice now, this new one we have international sales. Okay, and also if you notice above, these are the queries we had earlier. And if you notice above, there are some helper queries available. These are created by Power BI itself just to merge these 6 files into one data set. Okay, now all the 6 files data is loaded into this data set, single data set. Now, before we proceed ahead, first thing what you have to do, here also we have this zip one, and here also we have that issue, 3 digit, 2 digits, 4 digits, something like that. We need to first, before doing anything, after loading this data, the folder option, change the zip data type to text. And again, here also we have this change type. It is asking us to replace current or add new step. So click on the replace current. If you notice, it has still not changed this data type, these digits, because earlier also, if you see in the source itself, sorry, here itself, before changing the data type also, so there is no 0 before, 3 digits in the source itself. It is like that, 3 digits. So even after changing it, it won't make difference, but we need to still change it, because here this data set has more countries data, right? In some of the countries, for example, in Canada, we have alphanumeric letters as the zip code. That will fail if you just keep it as 1 to 3. If you want to see that, if I go here under the, if you see the under the Canada, see zip code, it has R3EM6H L5T R3B, something like that. Alphanumeric characters it has. So that is the reason, as soon as you load this international sales data using that folder option, first thing you need to change the data type to text, or else If you click on close and apply, it will definitely fail. Clear? And next thing is, if you notice after changing the data type, next thing is if you notice the column names, the file name is added as a column name as source.name, and here country name is already there, and this is also indicating the same. We don't need this column anymore. So what you can do, we can just remove this column because it's redundant data. How do we remove? If you are in the home tab, go to this remove column option, click on this drop down. There are two options. Remove columns, that means whatever you have selected, those columns will be removed. If you click on this one, remove other columns, except the selected column, all other columns will be removed. Okay, this is one option. Or you can simply right click on this column, click on remove. It will remove that column, and it is added that removed step. And if you want to get that column back, you just need to delete this step. Right click, remove. Okay, now click on close and apply. You should see here international sales data as well. Okay, can you do this quickly? What we did, click on this drop down, click on more. Under the file, you have this folder option. If you don't find it, search here for folder. You'll find it. Click on folder, click on connect, browse the international. Okay, under your data folder, select the international sales folder, click OK, click OK. And here, combine and click on transform load data, combine and transform data. It will take you to the Power Query editor. Here, you will be under in this data set. If you are somewhere here, like in sales or geo, you need to click on this international sales to come here. Before doing anything, first you need to change the data type of this zip to text, and then you will have a column like this, source.name. Right click on it and remove that column. And if you want, you can also like select multiple columns, hold control and select multiple columns like this and remove. Or if you select this column and hold shift and then click on this column, it will continuously select all these columns. You can do all that. And you can also move these columns here and there. You change the order of the columns, you can do all of that. Anyways, that is not required for now, but you can just remove, change the data type of the zip column and remove the source column name. And then click on close and apply. Then you should see something like this. Okay, what is the purpose of having zip column in all of the international sales CSV files? See, if you do not have this zip column, how will you know? This is because this is sales data, right? How will you know in which location that sales has been made? So to identify the location, sales location, that zip column is added. Next question, when we change the data type this time for zip, we will not be able to see 0, but that 0 will be loaded in the data. No, because you're talking about that Australia's data where you have 3 digits, right? Because in the source itself, there are 3 digits. That is the reason, even if you change the data type, it is not changing it to 4 digits or something. If you see here in the Australia data, if you see here 822,810, in the source itself we have 3 digits. And also if you see here in the Excel, if I search for 822, see Australia data, we just have 822. In Australia we have 4 digits and 3 digits data as well. I'm not sure if it is allowed in Australia, but since it's a test data and in the source in both the places it is 3 digits, so that's not an issue. Do we have to remove source column? Yes, but before removing the source column, change the data type of the zip column to text, or else when you close and apply, it will fail. Okay, Kushilal, what is the issue? He's saying I'm stuck here. What we have to keep in sample file? Which sample file you're talking about? See, I'll show you again. See if you're doing the same way. Click on this get data. Go to click more. Go to the file. Click on this folder. Click connect. Then click on the browse. Select the folder where you have saved the data. Under the data, you see international sales folder. Select that folder. Then click OK. Then you'll see something like this, and you see this combine option. Click on that. Use first option, combine and transform data. Once you do that, it will open like this. Maybe it will open in the background. Click on here, Power BI icon, and you will see the Power Query also open. Click on it. You will have something like this. Okay, you will have source name, and you will see this new helper queries created and all of that. And here, first change the zip data type to text, and then right click on this source.name and remove it, and then click on close and apply. Okay. Siddesh is saying he's getting the error. That is because, Siddesh, as soon as you load the data, first you need to change the data type of the zip to text, then remove the column. If you make this change the order, right, what will happen whenever you try to load the data from here, close and apply, it will try to evaluate all these steps. Okay, so since we have Canada data also here, and at this step, since it is integer, and when you are loading the Canada data, what it will do, it will try to convert that alphanumeric value to the integer. Since there are also alphabets, it will not be able to change it to the integer. That's why it will fail. That is the reason, as soon as you load the data, change the text data data type of the zip to text, and then remove this source column name, and then close and apply. It will work.
So basically, I got this error while loading itself.
Yes. See, in your case, okay. So you see there is already query errors is added. Now click on international sales.
It's been done. What has been asked has already been done. At the time of loading itself, I got this error.
Loading itself is, that's what I'm saying. Loading is in. That's why you see what is loading. Loading from here or closing and apply, both are same. Okay, so that is why instead of clicking on combine and load, you should have selected combine and transform data. That is when it would take you to this Power Query editor.
Yep. I did same thing. I had clicked on transform and combine and transform.
Can you do one thing? Can you click on this international sales data set and then send me the screenshot? I'll see what you have done.
Sure.
Okay, Mohit says I forgot to delete the source.name, but now I did apply and save. So is there any way to delete it now? Yes, of course. See, that's what I've been doing from long time. Once you close and apply, you will come to the Power BI desktop, right? If you want to go back to the Power Query editor, under this home tab, under this query section, you see this transform data option. Just click on this transform data option. It will take you back to the Power Query editor and click on international sales, and you can do whatever transformations you want. And again, close and apply. It is not that only one time I need to do everything and then I'll apply, right? So after doing some changes, I would have forgotten something, and I might be doing some other changes later. Then I should come back to it and do it, right? That's how it is. Just click on this transform data. It will take you back to the Power Query editor. Select the data set you want and do whatever you want to do. Okay. So now we have loaded this data. So if we have to go back to the Power Query editor, how do we do? We are here in the home tab. Click on this transform data. It will take you back to the Power Query editor. Now what we do, we have just loaded the data and just made simple transformations. For example, we changed the data type of the zip column to text and we removed some column, right? So let's see these data sets one by one, and if you can make any further changes so that we can get better insights of this data, right? Let's start with sales. Before that, let me rename these tables properly. Of course, they are meaningful now, but let me make it a little better. I call this as sales with S caps. I call geography as geo as geography. Manufacturer as manufacturer with M caps, and product, since it's already a table, we don't need this underscore table. Let's call it product, and let's leave international sales as it is. Okay. So first thing, when we load data, we need to check the data set name, because here we just have 5 data sets, right? In large environment, you might be having a lot of tables like 20, 30, 100 data sets as well. So if you do not name them properly, you will be lost sometime that what is what table, right? Until unless you get some hands-on on that. Anyway, so first you need to change the data set name properly, and then next thing is look for the column names if the data set has the proper column name, because based on this column only we will be creating our visuals, right? So column names has to be proper. So if you see the sales, column names looks fine, and even the then after the column name, then you need to look for the data types for each of the column. Even the data type also looks fine here. We had issue here in the zip, but we have changed that. Others are fine. Since this is decimal, it has taken it as 1.2 as decimal. That is also correct. So we don't have any issue with the sales. Now, before coming to the geography, let's go to the product. Let's see if at all we have any issue here. Then let's come back to the geography later. If you go to the product, here, first of all, name we have already changed, and the column headers looks fine. Then the data type are also fine. Now, do you see any issue here in any of these columns? Anybody? Category, yeah. Siddesh says category is an issue. We have a lot of null values. Correct. What else? Any other columns? What about price column? What do you think? Is it right? Not right. What is the issue? Someone says it should have decimal value. Someone says we should remove USD. Someone says it should be numerical. Text. It is already text. Add dollar. It contains both text and decimal. Okay. So this is the correct interpretation of it. Price has both text and decimal value. That is the reason the data type of it is taken as text. Okay. But let's say on the price column, what do? We generally do mathematical operations, right? For example, I want to see the average price of product in some category, right? Or average price of the product sold in some particular region, right? Or minimum value of the product or maximum value of the product. So if at all you have this text column, you will not be able to do that. So that is the reason we have to separate this USD and the price value into separate columns. Either we should remove the USD or we just separate them. Okay, but we can remove the USD. But if you remove the USD, for example, what if your price is in different currencies? Now, in this case, it is all USD. So even if you remove USD, we know that all our price and revenue is in USD. What if we have multiple currencies? For example, we have 7 different countries data, right? So if we have this price in those countries currencies, then we should know that, right? To do that rate conversion. So we should not be removing that. We just need to separate it out. That is one issue here with the price column. And category column, of course, we just have mix as a value, and there are a lot of null values. If you have something like this, when you plot this data in your bar chart or your pie chart, a lot of your values, if you want to see the revenue by category, you will also see this null as a category, and you will not be able to interpret which product category it is, right? And even if you see here under this, each of the column, you see this line, green line, in fact, teal color line. If you see for the product, if I hover my mouse on it, it is complete green. If I hover my mouse on it, it says 100% valid based on 1000 records. Even the product. And if I hover my mouse on this category, it says only 3% is valid data. 97% has empty data, null record. So that means 97% of your revenue will be shown against null category. That will not give you a good representation of the data, right? Even though you have a particular product here for these null values, but the category is not there. So that is one more issue. Okay, two issues we have, one with the price and one with the category. And the third issue is, it is not issue, but it is based on your business understanding. You will be able to understand it. Since I know this data, if you notice, Abbas MA01, after that we have a vertical line and then all seasons. Then Abbas MA02, then we have vertical line and then all seasons. Abbas MA03, vertical line and all seasons. So for all of these Abbas MA01, MA02, MA03 like this, for all of this, all seasons is in common. That means it might be a higher level in this hierarchy, right? Product hierarchy, maybe a subcategory, right? All these products come under this all season subcategory. Even if you see the productivity, see the productivity is being repeated. And if you see the select, it is being repeated. Convenience, it's being repeated. Moderation is being repeated. That means two data points, two data values, the product name and the subcategory names are clubbed together, right? If you want to see your revenue by subcategory, then you should split this also into two. If not, if your requirement is not to see the revenue by subcategory, then you can just keep it as it is. In the product, it will just show the whatever value we have right now. But being an analyst, I want to also see the data by subcategory also. What is my sales by category also? Okay, so we have to separate that out. First, we'll go with this because this is a simple one. There are different scenarios for having null values. One thing is, maybe your source system has some issue where the source system is generating the data that is generating null values for some reasons. So if you do not have access on the source system, or there is some other team handling that data, you might inform them that, see boss, this is what I have. 97% of the data in this column is coming as null. Even if I create a report on this, it will show 97% of the revenue against the null category. So please correct it and send back. That is one information, one scenario. Second scenario, if you have the access on the source system and you know what is the issue for being this value as null, so you can go back to your source system and you can correct it yourselves, and you can generate that file again and load it again. So that is other scenario. Third scenario is, here let's assume this. Let's say this data is being generated from a website or some web application where user or the product owner is entering this product data. What he's doing is, he's entering this product name and this ID is being created automatically. He's entering this product information along with the subcategory, and he's adding the category. Okay, he's adding one row. And when he's adding the second row, he or she, what he's doing is, until and unless the category of this product is changing, they are not entering anything here because they're manually doing it. Just to reduce their work, they're just leaving it blank. And whenever there is a category changing, they're entering the value. Then until and unless the category is changing again, they're not entering. If it is changing, either the category or the subcategory, they're changing the value. Okay, so this is another case. Let's assume that this is our business scenario. Okay, and there is no way that you can ask them to enter value for everything. They are saying, okay, this is what I can do, and you correct it yourselves. This is what is the logic. In that case, what you have to do, what we have to do here is, I have to fill this mix value till I see the next value, and I have to fill this value till I see next value. Goes on like this, right? So to do that, click on this column, select this column, go to this transform tab. Under the transform tab, under this any column section, this is the tab, menu tab. When I say tab, it is this transform. When I say section, it is these ones. So under the transform tab, we have any column section. Here there is option called fill. If I hover my mouse on it, it says fill cell value to neighboring empty cells in the currently selected columns. What it will do, it will fill this value to the neighboring empty cells, whatever value we have here. Okay, so select this column, click on this fill, and there are two options, fill down and fill up. In our case, we have to fill down the value, right? So I'll select fill down. You see, instantly, as soon as I click on that, it has filled down this mix value till it sees the rural value. And the rural value is filled down till it sees other new value. Something like that. It has filled now. Now, if I hover my mouse on it, you see this is 100% green and 100% valid record. Okay. This issue is resolved. Now, if you go to the product, as I said, product name and the subcategory both are combined together. I have to split it. So how do I split? Again, select this column product, be in this transform section or transform tab, go to the text column, because it's a text column and there is a text column operator called split column. Okay, this is the one. And if you click on this drop down, there are different options. Split this column by delimiter, split by number of characters, split by position, by lowercase to uppercase, by uppercase to lowercase, digit to non-digit, non-digit to digit. Okay, these are all self-explanatory, but in this case, I want to use the first option by delimiter, because in our case, this vertical line between this product name and the subcategory is common. That is why I want to use the split by delimiter option. If I click on this option and click on by delimiter, it will open a new window. Here, see, these are all the default delimiters: colon, commas, equal, sign, semicolon, space, tab. If at all you had any of these delimiters, Power BI would have automatically selected that. But in our case, we do not have any of this. That is why it is taken custom and it is taken hyphen as the delimiter, because we also have hyphen in common in all of this. Again, technically it is right, but logically hyphen is not our delimiter to separate these values. This vertical line is our delimiter. So we have to remove this and replace this with vertical line. Where it is right above your enter key and right below your space key. You need to hold shift and enter that key. You get this pipe. Okay. And there are three other options below. Split at. Where do you want to split? Okay, using this delimiter. At the leftmost delimiter, rightmost delimiter, or each occurrence of the delimiter. This is applicable only when you have multiple delimiters. But since we have only one delimiter, it really doesn't matter whatever option it is there. So let's leave it and click on OK. Just notice this column. I just have product and category now. Product column. Notice this product column. Click OK. The product column is now split into two. It has become product 1 and product 2. And after splitting, if you notice, earlier we just had this step. After changing the fill category, we had this step. After splitting the delimiter, see, now the data type is ABC, but it is again checking the data type if that is correct. It is changed that to text. It has gone through all these records and it is seeing text values. That's why it is kept it as text. Okay, now let's rename these columns. How do you rename? Just double click. I'll call this as product and I call this as subcategory. Clear? Now this is 100% valid, this 100% valid, and now I can slice my data at the subcategory also. Okay. Now let's go to the price column. As I said, we have to split this price column. Is there any way can we split these again now? Can we do it using the split column by delimiter? Yeah, because space is common between USD and these values, right? So if I use space, it is simple. If I go to delimiter, now see, automatically Power BI has taken space as the delimiter. And even since we just have only one space, so this option doesn't matter really. Click OK, it will split this into 2 columns like it did for the product. But I want to show you another option of doing this. If you select this column, one, we already know the split column. And there is one more option here within this text column section itself, that extract. What it does, extract characters from text values. So click on this drop down. There are these options: extract by length, first character, extract last character, the range, text before delimiter and text after delimiter. Okay, so if I use text before delimiter, it is asking me to give the delimiter. Let's say I give space as a delimiter, then click OK. What it did, it just extracted the text before the delimiter, but we lost the price here. Okay, so let me delete that step. If I go to the, now I'm in the transform section, and from the transform section I extracted. That is why it applied this transformation on the selected column itself. If I go to the add column, I said earlier that some of the transformations are being repeated in these 2 steps, right? Under the transform also we have this extract, we have these number columns, date columns, you see, date column, date section, number section, and extract is there, merge column is there, here also merge column is there, extract is there. So we did from the transform and it replaced, it just extracted the value and removed the price column, right? If I do the same thing from the add column, if I go to the add column, I've selected the price column. Now I extract from here, text before delimiter, I give space, same thing, click OK. What it did, it created a new column with that transformation. So the difference between the common transformation between the transform tab and the add column tab is that if you do any transformations from this transform tab, it will apply that transformation on the existing column itself. But if you do it from this add column, it will leave the original column as it is and it will create a new column with that transformation. Clear? Okay, so now this column is created. I'll rename this column as currency. Again, select the price column. Now I'm in add column, go to the extract. Now I'll select text after the delimiter. Now I'll give space as the delimiter, click OK. I'll call this as price. Okay, price is already there. You should have the unique, you should give the unique name. Maybe I'll call it as MSRP, maximum selling retail price. Now we have separated these values into 2. And of course, after before renaming, we should have changed, or after renaming also, we should change this data type from text to decimal like this. And we can remove this column because we already have this data here and it is redundant. So this is another way. There is one more way I want to show you that as well. Let me just delete whatever I've done till now for the price column. One more interesting option. In the add column section itself, there is something called column from examples. You can take all the columns as example or the selection. I want to just only take the selected column. So I'll take the second option. What it will do, it will create a new column based on the example of the selected columns. For example, Once I click on that, you will see something like this. You see this gray line, just double click on it. Now here, enter 412.13, the exact value that we have here in this column. Then hit enter. Can you notice here? Taking this as an example, it has created this new column altogether. Okay, and the column header, what it says, text after delimiter. Even though we are using this column from example, internally it has done the text after delimiter operation itself, the extract operation itself. So click OK. Then I do it again. Select the price column, column from examples, selection. Now this time I do USD. Hit enter. USD has come. New column text before the delimiter. Now select OK. See, now I have same two columns. Now I'll rename this column as MSRP and this as currency. And I'll remove this column. Before removing, I'll also change this data type of this column to decimal because that is the decimal value, right? Then I'll remove this price column. Cool. So now this table looks good. We have unit values, atomic value in each of the columns. We have split this product into product and subcategory. We have filled the category values, and we have also split the price column into MSRP and currency. So for splitting a column, we have seen three options. One is split by delimiter from the transform section, and from the add column, extract before delimiter, after delimiter, then column from examples. So you can use any of these. It is not that you have to select only this or only that. I just showed you all three options. Whichever you feel is easier, that you can do. So I feel split by delimiter is easier in this case also. Just enter space as the delimiter and it will split into two columns. But it depends. I just wanted to show you what are the options we have. Clear? Any questions on this?
Sir, quickly, can you show column from example once again?
Okay. Let me just expand this. I can show you from these added steps only directly. See, we were here, removed columns.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So what
Yes.
I did, I came here, I selected this column, came here under the add column, column from examples, from selection.
Right.
You can also use this one, but since we just want to take one column as example, you can take this option, this one.
Yes.
Okay, it is, since it is already step added. Okay, anyways, I'll insert a step.
Okay.
It will show something like this.
Yeah.
Here, double click to
Okay.
enable this column, enter the value, exact value, in this case 412.13, if you want to extract the price.
Okay, fine.
And hit enter. It will create new column, and repeat the same thing for USD.
Okay, cool.
And then change the data type of the price to 1.2 decimal and remove this price column because we already have these two columns.
Yeah, fine. We need to add the value in the first row in the new column, right?
Yes, the new column which gets created, there you need to add as an example.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, so Ashok says manufacturer ID is still not 100%. Yes, that is correct. There is some, since it's a test data, we can correct that also. As I said, there are different ways of correcting it. One way we just saw it, or maybe by seeing the product ID or something, you can correct it. But since it is just how much? 5%. Let's leave it for now, thinking that it's a known issue. But if you want, we can correct that also. Since it's a test data, that's okay. But when you're working in real time with actual data, then you should not have any empty data or null data, because that doesn't give you any information. It will just give you there is empty category where you have $100 million. What do you understand by that? So that's the reason you should not have that. Okay, can you do this quickly? Go to the product. First thing, category, fill down. Go to the transform. Click on this fill option, fill down, it will fill down. Then go to the product. Under the transform, you have the split column, split by delimiter, add pipe as the delimiter. Click OK. It will split into two columns, product.1 and product.2. Rename them to product and subcategory. Then come to the price. Click on the price. You can just do the split by delimiter also. Split by delimiter and space it will automatically take. Click OK. It will split into two. Then name one as MSRP, another one as currency, and then remove the price column. And then change the MSRP or price columns data type to 1.2. Cool. Can you do it quickly? Yes, you can remove the price columns to this because we already have the currency and the price information here, right? So this is redundant data anyway, we don't need it, and we'll not be able to use it also for anything. Pawan, which part you missed?
Yeah, this split column, the last three steps.
Okay, split. I was just showing different options like extract before the delimiter, after the delimiter. So if you want to split this using extract, go to the add column and enter the extract text before the delimiter and give space as the delimiter. It will extract the USD into another column. And next time again come to the price and use text after the delimiter, use space as the delimiter, and it will give price as the other column. Then rename those columns as MSRP and currency and remove the original price column. That is one option I showed. And other option is just select the price column, go to the column from example, select this option. Then once you insert it, you'll see something like this, and new column is being created here. Just double click on it, enter the exact value like 412.13 if you want to extract the price value, or USD if you want to extract only the USD as a column. Like repeat it 2 times for USD and also for the price, and rename those columns and change the price data type to decimal. These options I showed, but simply what you can do, just select the price column, and under the transform section, by delimiter you use, automatically it will take space at the delimiter, click OK to split these into 2 columns. That is the simplest option to do, but I wanted to show you the other options as well. Shall we close and apply? Yes, if you click on close and apply, what will happen? This window will close and all these changes we have made till now will be applied to the Power BI desktop. But we still have to do changes on the other. We need to check other data sets also, right? So we don't have to close it. Just come here, close and up. Just click on apply. Whatever we have done till now will be applied to the Power BI desktop. And you can also see that if you see here, see the column names, the data set names have been changed. Even if you close and apply, you come back here and click on transform data, it will open up that. So that's not a big deal, but you can do that. Or
so we were supposed to delete price column, right?
Yeah, we have deleted it because, but I am in this step it is showing. But see, if you see here,
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sir, out of curiosity, if we wanted to swap the columns, how do we do that?
Swap as in?
Swap as in I want currency before MSRP.
Yeah, it's simple. Just click on hold this column and drag it this side.
Okay, fine.
And you can also right click on this column and there is move option here. See, move left, right to the beginning to the end. You can do this also.
Okay, got it.
But simply we just drag and drop. But in database, right, the order of the column doesn't matter. You can have anywhere.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
Okay, so I was talking about close and apply and just apply, right? And here also we see this option, save option. If you click on save, see, it will ask you to apply and apply later. If you click on apply later, what it will do, whatever changes you have done in the Power Query, right, are saved within the Power Query itself. Even if you close the entire report, this Power Query Editor and Power BI desktop, and reopen again, the changes that you have done will be still there in the Power Query Editor. You can do that as well, even if you don't want to apply upfront. Clear, Poonam?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, done. Everyone, shall we move ahead? Okay. Now let's go back to geography. Okay, because from sales directly we had jumped to product, right? Because I wanted to show you that split and other things before coming there. So that's why now let's go back to geography and see. Here in the geography, first thing, anyway, we have renamed it. It's correct. And we need to check the column names. Column names are not right in the first place. So it says source, public database, column 3, column 4, column 5, something like that. This is because if you see our Excel sheet, in the geography, that is what we had. We loaded this as the entire sheet, right? So we had loaded data from here. So it is considering these also as the data. Okay. So that's why it is considered source as the column name and public database as the other column name. And for these others, we do not have any data. That's why it is just taken as column 3, column 4, column 5, something like that. If you are the owner of this database, this source sheet again, you can just delete from here and then load so that you'll not see this. But if you do not have access, it is being generated by the some other system automatically with this header information that you will have to change it here itself in that case. So now what we have to do in this case, first of all, these first two records are not correct, right? We have to remove those two rows. How do we remove? Under the home tab, this reduce rows section, we have something called remove rows. Click on this drop down. We have different options. You can go through them later. Remove top rows, remove bottom rows, remove alternative rows, remove duplicate rows, remove blank rows, and remove errors. We are interested in this one, remove top rows. If you click on this, it will ask you to enter the number of rows to be removed. Now we want to remove 2 rows. Let me add remove, enter 2 and click OK. See that 2 rows are removed now. Now, still my column names are not right. You see, actually my column names are in the first record. So we have to bring this first row to the column header. How do we do that? Under the home tab again, here under the transform section, we have this option, use first row as headers. And if you click on this drop down, there is one more option, use headers as first row. By mistake, if your data row has become the header row, then you can bring that also down to the data row. But in this case, we have to make the first row as header. So I'll click this first option. Now see, the first row has become column header. Again, immediately after doing this, next thing what I have to do is zip. It is again change it to integer, thinking that these are all the numerical values. Okay, based on scanning top 200 records. But below the line, we also have the alphanumerical data. That's why we have to change this to text or else it will fail. So replace current. Let's change to text. Clear? What we did? We removed top 2 rows, then use the first row as the header. Then we change the zip data type, integer data type to text. And you can also see those whatever steps we have applied. You can see from these applied steps also. Okay. Then if you notice the city column, it also has state and country information. If you want to show it like this, you can just leave it as it is. But if you want to just have the city information in this and remove state and USA, because we already have that in as a separate columns, you can do that also. How do we do? We already know under the transform, we have split column. split by delimiter. And see, now automatically it has taken comma as delimiter. And now these options will come into picture. Since we have multiple commas, if I use leftmost delimiter, it will split only at this first delimiter. It will keep star tannery as one column and VA comma USA as another column. If I use first option, if I use second option, it will keep star tannery comma VA as one column and USA as other column. If I use third option, at every occurrence of the comma, it will split. That means it will split into 3 columns. Okay. So just to show you, let me use this last option and click OK. Now notice the city column, click OK. You see, it has become city 1, city 2, city 3. Wherever it found a comma, it replaced that. And it converted them to 3 columns. Now this is also fine. You can just select this column and this column, just remove this. That also you can do. But simply, you can just use the leftmost delimiter and it will only split into 2 columns. I'll show you. So I have added this step, right? For some of these steps, you also see this gear icon. If you want to, if you have that gear icon, that means you can edit that configuration anytime. So click on this gear icon. Now see, it took us back to this option. Now I'll select leftmost delimiter and click OK. Now see, I just have city 1 and city 2. Now what I do? Oh, sorry, this was okay. Now I'll remove this column. I don't need this. And I just rename this as city. Okay. Can you do this quickly? What we did? We removed top 2 rows, then promoted header using this option. Column first row as the header, and then we split the city by delimiter and remove the other column and rename the city column. And before doing that, remember, as soon as you, after removing top 2 records, then you use the first row as header. Immediately after that, you need to change the zip data type to text, because if you change it later, what it will do, while it is validating these below steps, here it will also validate this column for the integer value, but we have the alphanumerical value, so it will fail. That is why immediately after promoting the first row as the header, you need to change the zip data type to text.
Praveen, I had a quick question. When we apply split, there is this dialog box that says, not dialog box exactly, there is quote character. What is the significance of that?
Okay, so what happens sometimes, okay, she's talking about this one, quote character. In some places, for example, like let's say I have data like this. In text files, we'll have data like this as well sometimes. Have you seen data like this? Sometimes for each and every value, we will have quotes like this. Okay, we should not load this quote, right? We just have to load only this.
Yes.
So in such cases, we use that option.
Okay.
If you use that, it will not consider that as the text or the data.
Right.
Even though it is quote now, but we do not have that, so it is just ignoring that.
Yeah, so it's not applicable in this data set.
Yeah. Usually you will see this kind of data when data gets generated from some systems automatically.
Got it.
It will have the quotes.
Got it.
Praveen, I just have a question. So you mean to say when we will update this data, that particular inverted commas will automatically remove from that, right? And it convert into text. Okay.
Correct. I mean, whatever within the quote is only taken as your data value. The quotes are not considered.
So what are the options that we have in that character? Can you go back to that one? I just want to check in the drop down. So we just have this one. Okay. And the none. So we have to select this hyphen, right?
Correct.
I think that's a comma inverted. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sir, can you once repeat the significance of changing data type of zip first and then following steps? Like, why did you tell us to do that?
Okay, because see, what happens whenever you load the data, right? So
Yes.
when changing here, when you are in the Power Query editor, there won't be any issue. But whenever you click on close and apply, when you are applying the data, all these steps are validated from top to bottom.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so
Yes.
now let's say here it is integer. Here it is, I have changed it to text, but it was integer earlier. Let's consider that here it is integer.
Right.
Then you added this step, this step, this step, and below you changed it to
Text.
What
Right.
happens when you're loading, when it is validating this step,
Yeah.
it will validate all the data in that column. Since we have the alphanumeric values in that column, it will fail at this step itself.
Okay.
Clear? Makes sense?
No, like I didn't get. Which column has alphanumeric value?
Zip column.
Zip column. Okay.
See, here, let me change it back to integer. Good question, by the way.
Yeah.
Replace current. Okay, this is how we had when we promoted headers to promoted first row to header. Okay.
Right. Yes.
We had like this. Let's say I did not change the zip column, zip
Yeah.
data type to integer, and I did all the splitting and everything. And here I changed it to text. Okay.
Yes.
Here at this point, it looks fine. But when you are loading, when you click on close and apply, when it is loading data from here, Power Query to the Power BI desktop, it will start validating each and every step. So when it has come to this step, it is integer.
Right.
And if you see the data here for Canada, for the zip, we also have this kind of data.
Okay.
So it will try to convert this also to integer because we have this as integer. So it will fail in that case.
Okay, cool. Got it.
Even though we have changed here, but it will fail here itself. That is the reason we need to change here itself.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, one moment. Okay, and also you have to be very careful whenever you are thinking to delete some in between steps or changing something in the in between steps, because each and every step is dependent on its immediate previous step. If you make any changes in the previous step, that will affect the next step. So you have to be very careful. If you know that if that doesn't affect the subsequent steps, then you can easily delete or change configuration there. But if you're not sure, just don't do that. Delete everything from bottom till that point and then redo everything. Make sense? Okay, geography is done, everyone. Siddesh. Split column. Okay, Siddesh, make sure you change the zip data type at the first change type 1 itself. In this step itself. If you have not done that, if you have changed here, then it will definitely fail. Delete this step, this step, this step, and then change the data type here and then do these steps again.
Can I move the step upwards and, can it be done?
No, you can't do that. Because as I said, each and every step is dependent on previous step, right? The state of data in the previous step, it is dependent on that. If you move, then you cannot move that data state also, right?
Got it.
Okay, so if you're done with geography, let's move to manufacturer. And I want all of you to do this along with me, because tomorrow, based on this data itself, we are going to create visuals. If you have not done this properly today, and you will not be do the visualization also tomorrow. So that is the reason after I do something, I am letting you also do the same thing. And again, I'm saying this part, Power Query, which most of the people ignore, is very, very important when you are learning Power BI. Okay, next, let's move to manufacturer. What do you think about manufacturer? Any issue here?
Missing data, sir.
Okay, missing data where?
It's under column 1. We can see row 4, 5.
Okay, missing data, correct. Like null values.
Yeah.
I
Then
can also see the name is not correct. The column headers, the column
Correct.
1, 2, 3, 4.
correct. Column name is also not correct. Then anything else?
I
View
think
it says null.
Sorry?
column-wise data is represented as row-wise data.
Correct. Good point. Column-wise data is represented row-wise. So we'll come to that later, but good catch anyway. First of all, our traditional way is to check if the column names are correct or not. Column names are not correct. That is first issue. And also we have these null values here in these columns. So where do we have null values? Here, these two rows. And if I see all the columns have null values. So I can easily, without thinking anything, I can just remove those columns so that I'll fix this null value issue. And also we have this list of suppliers and manufacturer, because this is also there in the Excel sheet. That's where it has come, and this is also not required. So very easily, without thinking, without giving a next thought, I can just delete these 3 rows, right? Let me do that first. So go to the home. Under the remove rows, now earlier we had removed the top rows. Now we will remove bottom rows. Click that. Now we need to remove 3 rows, right? Enter 3, click OK. Now this null issue is gone. That is correct. But still the column header issue is there. If we try to do like to promote the first row as the header as we did last time, what we'll have, if I, for example, if I do like this, what will have manufacturer ID 1, 2, 3, something like that. This is not right. So let me remove that step. If you notice it closely, as he said, the column data is represented as row data. Ideally, if you see in this table, we just have only 3 columns: manufacturer ID, manufacturer, and logo. And all these information has to come below that. We should have manufacturer ID, manufacturer, and logo, and these values should have come below that. Okay, so how do we do that? There is option called transpose. Yes, we can transpose the data. There is also option called transpose. We have this transpose option in Excel also, right? When you're copy pasting, you do a special paste, and their transpose option is there. So exact same option is here also. Just select any column in this table, and if you are in the transform section, the transform tab, we have this first section called table. So any transformations we do here are applied on the entire table. That is why it is under the table section. Here we have this first option called transpose. Click on this. Just notice what is happening to this table. Click on this transpose. Can you see? We were like this. Now manufacturer became 1 column. Sorry, manufacturer ID became 1 column, manufacturer became 1 column, and logo became 1 column after we transpose the data. Correct? If I go to the home and now promote my first row as header, this will make sense. I have manufacturer ID, manufacturer, and logo. Clear? Now this is also set. And of course, data product we have already done. So can you quickly do this? What we did in this? We first removed bottom 3 rows. We had data like this. We removed the bottom 3 rows. Then we transposed the table. Then we promoted the first row as header. And of course, the change type automatically added. This step will automatically add whenever you promote header. So if it is not correct, then you need to, technically it will be correct, but logically if it is not correct, like that happened for the zip, we need to make changes there. And save it. Yes. So Ashok is saying, can we rename the steps as per our understanding? Yes, you can rename. Just double click. Or sorry, double click won't work there. Right click, rename. You can rename these steps also as per your understanding. Later, let's say you see change type here also, you change type here also. When you have so many change types, you might not be knowing what you have changed, which column you have changed. So you can just double click, right click, rename, and you can give some name like changed the manufacturer column data type from this to this, something like that. You can give any name. You can change. And it won't affect that steps configuration. And good question, Ashok, by the way. And we generally do when we are working with a lot of data, and we'll have more steps, like 20-30 steps, right? So in such cases, we definitely change the step name so that whenever I come back later after a month or after a half year or after 1 year, I should know what exactly I've done there. So we will change those names, step names. Okay, cool, done with the manufacturer. And product we have already done. And if I go to the international sales, again in international sales, we have already changed the data type. You should have something like this if you have not changed the data type, and you should see 1 to 3 as the zip column. But if you have already changed it, you should see zip 1 to 3 and remove, you should have removed this column as well, source dot name. If not, change the zip column data type to 1 to 3 and remove this column. So you should see something like this. Now the question is, here in the sales also, sales table or data set also, we have the sales data, but this is for United States. Here in the international sales also we have the sales data, but it is for all other countries. Do you think combining these two data set is a better idea to interpret in a better way?
Yeah.
How it is better idea? Why can't we just use it like this?
I think the country, we know, like the sales is by default US in the first thing, and whereas all other countries are in the international sales here. So if you want to join these tables, probably joining with one table makes more sense than joining with multiple tables.
Okay, so if I have to tell you with some correlation with Excel, if we have different data in two different sheets, what do? We use something called VLOOKUP. We'll have a common column and we'll match the data from one sheet to another sheet based on that common column, and we'll bring in the required columns from both the sheets and we'll create the visuals. That's what we do. Agree?
Yeah.
Okay, but here product ID looks unique, but there is no guarantee that all the products that you have sold in America or US would have been sold in other countries also. So if you try to do that, there is, of course, there is an option to merge queries like the VLOOKUP here as well. But if you try to do that, you will be missing out some of the products. Correct? So that option is not feasible in this case. What is feasible is we can just append all these countries information, like international sales information, just below the US sales. Like what I'm saying is we have to copy this entire data, like international sales data, right below the United sales data in this data sets itself. I'm talking about this. Let me show you. Let's say I have PID, zip, then I have revenue, something like, let's say I have these 3 columns. This is your United sales, United States sales, and this is other countries. PID 1, zip code 123, revenue 100, PID 2, zip code something like this, and revenue 200, something like this we have. Okay, so here also, let's say here product ID 1, zip code something like this, revenue, maybe it is sold for a higher rate here in this country. Let's say it is Australia. Product ID 3, and this is sold for 200, maybe for lesser price, this product. Or maybe let's say it is Canada. If you take this example itself, here we have product 1, 2, product 1 and product 2, which are being sold in United States, but product 2 is not being sold in these 2 countries. So if you try to do a VLOOKUP based on product ID, you'll be missing out this data and this data both. You'll just end up getting only this record. That is the reason you cannot do that VLOOKUP thing, like merging you cannot do. But what we can do is, we can just copy this data and paste it right below this. And since here we do not have this country column, but we have it in the other data set, it will just add this column also to this. And wherever there is no data, it will just add null. And wherever there is the country data, it will just add country. So wherever there is null, we know that it is a United States data. Then now you get all the products information by country wise. You can also compare this data between these countries automatically. Make sense? Yes, no, confused? Okay, so this is what we are going to do right now. So to do that, now we have to append the international sales data to the sales data. So to do that, you need to select the sales table, and under the home tab, we have this combine option. What we have, this merge, first one is the VLOOKUP thing that I explained earlier, joining this and this, that merge, and we're not covering that in this session anyway. Okay, so what I explained later, that what we're going to do is this one, append queries. There are 2 options, append queries and append queries as new. What append queries will do is, it will just append this data to the sales data. Append queries as new will append this data to the sales data, but it will create a new data set here. But we don't want to do that. We just want to append this to sales. That's why I select this first option. And you notice here, I'm in the sales data set, and I just have 5 columns here, revenue, and there is no country. Whereas in the international sales, I have the country column. Okay, now I'm in the sales back, click on this append queries and append queries. It will ask you to select which table you want to append to. If you just have 2 tables, select this option and select the table which you want. In our case, it is international sales. If you have 3 or more tables, click on this option and you can just add, for example, click this table, hold Control to select multiple tables and click on add. It will just add all those columns here and click OK. You can do this also. But in our case, we just have only 2 tables. We'll select this first option and click OK. You notice we didn't have the country column earlier. We just appended this data. The country column is added. And as we did here, wherever there was no data, which is US data, they all have those all rows have received null value. And wherever we have data for country, that means the appended data, we have the countries information: Australia, Canada, Germany, Japan, Mexico, Nigeria. Okay. Now we know wherever there is null, that is USA data. You can just leave it as it is, and as a developer you know that okay, wherever there is null, it is USA data. But when you give this to some other end user or the business user, this information, this chart or pie chart or the column chart, wherever there is null, he'll think that this is some unknown value. So we need to change this. The simplest way is just select this column null, and under this transform section we have something called replace values. If you select null and click on replace values, that selected value will already be filled in here, and just replace this with USA. Click OK. Then you have your USA also. If you click here, and it will just show only USA because it is based on top 1000 rows. Click on load more to see all the data, and you see all the countries information wherever there was null, and now you see it as USA. Okay.
So before replacing the data, the teal column, it showed entirely black. So it was entirely black. So it showed 100% of the values are null. So how come, like, we have other value also, right?
Okay, let me remove this column.
Yeah.
It says 100% null, but for 1000 records.
Right.
See, whatever we see here, this teal color line we see, it is based on the top 1000 records. And also see, you see here, the column profiling is based on top 1000 rows. This is called as column profiling. Okay. If you want to change it to column profiling based on the entire data set, you can do that. If I change it, but if you have a lot of data, let's say millions of records, it will stuck here itself to load all that data if you have lesser RAM or lesser memory in your system. But since we have lesser data, let me show you that. I click on this option. Now it will do column profiling on all the records. Can you see now?
Yes.
Out of 15, now you see 15,000 records.
Right.
28% is empty, 71% is valid records.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is one simple option to replace it. What if, I'll just give you another scenario. What if you have null in other countries also? For example, for Nigeria also you have null. That also, if you do like this, it will replace for Nigeria also as USA, no? What do you do in that case? Any thoughts?
Can we use fill option in this case?
Which option?
Fill.
Fill option? No, you cannot use fill option.
I think we'll have a multiple drop down the replace values only.
Okay, little closer. Someone, Ashok, saying there should be some another column to validate. Exactly. Good point. There should be another column. For example, in our case, we have this zip column. Right. So let's say for Nigeria or Mexico also you have null value. How will you validate that null value is for Nigeria or Mexico? You should have another column to validate, right? We have zip column, for example. Let's say we have state column also. We do not have, but let's say we have state column and zip column. Zip column is very granular level, but let's say we have state column. By state also we can identify. Let's say if you have India's data, their country column is null, and you have state as Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, or Maharashtra. So you know that this country is India. Like that, you should have another column to validate it. So in our case, we have zip here. Okay, so you might not be knowing that. I just wanted to give you some work to your minds. Anyways, what we need to do is we need to create a new column and taking reference of another column. Okay, there is something called, if you go to the add column, there is something called, under the add column, there is something called conditional column. What it will do? It says it create a new column that conditionally adds the value in the currently selected column. Okay, so let me click on this condition column. It will open up this a window. Here it's a new column name. By default, it is custom. I call this as country new. Here there is a you can specify the condition to create this new column. Okay, for example, if the country equals to null, then the output should be USA. Correct? Then you can add multiple conditions like this. For example, add clause. Again, if this condition is not met, if let's say we have zip, I know that if zip equals to, I mean, this is very granular level because you'll have to do it for each and every zip. Let's say we had state information. If state equals to something like that, Karnataka, for example, then make it India. Like this, you can add as many number of conditions as you want. Okay, let me stop it here. Then if any of these conditions are not met, that means I already have the data in the country column. Then in the else part, you can either enter some value, for example, some NA value like this, or you can select a column, or you can also get the value from the parameter, but let's not dig into this parameter thing. It is a little advanced concept. Anyways, so let's select a column. Here I'll select the country column. What I do, what it does, it will check if the country column is equal to null, then it will change that null value to USA. Then it will check if zip column or the state column in this case is equals to Karnataka, then it will change to India. In fact, we should have this first, because here also we would have null, right? So it would have already changed this to India. So we'll first check if the country state column is equal to Karnataka, then we'll change it to India. If this condition is not met, like that, you can add for the other country states as well, Australian states, Mexican states, something like that. Then if that condition is not met, then it will check if the country is equals to null, then it will add USA to it. If this is also not true, this is also not true, we'll just take the value as it is in this existing column. Now let me click OK. Can you see here the new column is added based on those conditions? Wherever there is null, it has added USA, and wherever there is not null, it has just taken the column from this country. For example, let me just select, and notice I'm filtering it here for Australia. Click OK. There is also filtered row step added. Wherever there is not null, it has just added the value in this country column to this new column, because that is what we had given in the else part. Okay. And I just now one more thing, I filtered the data for the Australia, right? This filtered row is step is also selected. Now if I close and apply from here, you will only have Australia's data. Other countries' information you will not have in the Power BI desktop. So whenever you filter data like this to see the information, make sure you either click on cancel or you delete that filter row if that filtration is not intended. Make sense? So in this case, what you can do, you can remove this column, country column, and rename this as country column. Or simply in this case, we just have only null values for the USA. Just select the null, go to the transform, click on replace values, change null with USA. That also you can do. Since I've added this, let me just remove this step, and I'll now rename this as country. Cool. Okay, please explain this again. Okay, others understood, not understood?
No, not. It's quite confusing, so I did not get anything. Sorry.
Yeah, this will anyway replace other countries with null, right? Like you said, if we have Mexico as null, so this will replace Mexico with USA, right?
That is why I said this conditional column will help not doing that, right?
Yeah, but I didn't get it how.
Then you should say that way. Right?
Okay.
Okay. Anyways.
No, I think what I understood is, suppose in India, the zip code is 5 digits.
Correct.
So if you're adding a condition saying that if any of the column, zip column, zip row has the 5 digits, then you consider that as India if there is a null, right?
Yes,
Example,
that is, yeah, that is your business logic. Of course, you can do that.
Yeah, so I think that's the concept you are trying to explain is that, right? So basically based on the condition, you identify which country it is, even though it is null.
Correct.
And you populate the country accordingly.
Correct. That's what I was trying to explain. Okay, let me explain that again. See, we had data like this. When we appended the query, we have the null record because we did not have the country column here since we have added the data from the international sales. Since there was no data for the US sales, so it has all added the null. The question was, what if we did not have, what if we had null values in these other countries also already? What if I had null values here already? In Australia, I had some null values. In Mexico, I had some null values. Here, for those countries also, there will be null values only. But if I just come here and do replace value with null with USA, even for Australia and Mexico, it will change that to USA itself. You'll be losing out your revenue for those countries. So that is when you can make use of this conditional, what is that? Conditional column. What it will do, it will create a new column based on some conditions, right? To identify that null value in the Australia or null value in the Mexico as a Mexico, you should have some relevant columns already, right? For example, maybe the state column, state name you might have, or the zip code you might have, or some product IDs which are only sold in Australia or only sold in Mexico you might have. So by using any of your logic, the actual business logic might vary. What I just wanted to make you understand is based on some conditions, some logic, business logic, you can identify that column, that record as Australia record or Mexican record. So in that case, you can add conditions like this. In my case, I assume this zip column as the state column. If state is equals to India, but it is null, state is equals to Karnataka, and if it is null, I know Karnataka is India's, it comes under India. So I change to India. Like that, you can add multiple conditions, is what I meant to say.
Okay, so we need to find something which is unique for that country.
Correct. Yes,
Yes.
that is very important.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay, but anyways, in this case, you don't have to worry. I just wanted to show you in case if you have something like that, what you have to do. But in this case, what you can do, you have something like this. Just select this country column or just this null value and go to the transform, click on replace values, replace null with USA, and you're good. Can we go with only one condition, null to USA? Yes, you can do. You can just have only one condition, but it is as good as just replacing null with USA. Okay. Genovia had this issue. Genovia, you have to use that fill down option. You are here in the product category, select category, go to the transform. There is something called fill down. That will fill down the mixed value to the below non empty cells. Okay, so have you all completed this? After doing this, if you notice, the country data type is not changed. It is showing as mixed. I'm not sure why, but change it to text. Even if you are also seeing the same thing. Okay, now we have done all the transformations till now. Okay, now I can close and apply. But what happens is this will also be, this international sales will also be added to the Power BI desktop here. One moment. Here, international sales will also be added if I close and apply. But since we already appended this data to the sales, we don't have to load this, right? It is just redundant data. So to do that, what you can do, just right click on it, And you see these two options enabled, enable load and include in the report refresh. Just disable it, just uncheck it, click on it. It'll just give you a warning that if you are using any visuals on based on this data set, it will break, but we have not done anything. So let's click on continue. So now if you notice, this has become italic. That means it is disabled. Now, if I close and apply, all the changes, whatever we have done till now will be, this window will be closed. And all the changes will be applied. And you can also notice this international sales will be removed because we have disabled it for loading. See, we just have only these 4 tables, which is our clean data, using which we can create our visuals. Any questions till now?
Sir, we are not going to treat the null. There are few in product table, I guess.
Product table. Okay, let me check. Go back to
product table, manufacturer ID, few are
yeah, we addressed this already. Yes, see, if you want, you can do it based on some logic, but since it's a test data and we already, the idea here was to just to know how to replace these null values and make it 100% correct information, right? So now we already know how we can do, but the data itself is like this. It's a test data, so let's not much worry about it. Just 5% of the data we have empty, but that's okay for now.
Okay.
Okay.
And for geography also we have city and region, few values are null.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah, okay.
Of course, for the geography, see, this again based on the zip code, you can do that.
Yes.
Like using the conditional formatting.
Yes, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, we can do that, but since we have so many records, so we don't have much time to do all that, but that's okay.
Okay.
But
Fine.
we know how to do it. That is important.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
So the part, whatever we are doing so far, is it called modeling or it's transformation? So
no,
modeling
it is just this part. The first step, data preparation and analysis.
Okay.
We have not come to the modeling yet and also visualization. So we'll see that tomorrow, but whatever we have done till now is this data preparation and analysis.
Okay.
Okay. So any questions you have, any doubts, any questions? Did you find it useful?
Definitely useful. The only thing I can say is, in real world, we deal with relational databases like Oracle, SQL, those things.
Correct.
And those tables will hold, millions of records.
Correct.
And a good number of columns.
Correct.
So taking like at least one example with that will give a clear picture, because Excel, these things will be really easy to do it. But when you are loading data from that table and doing the analysis and modeling, I think that will help us probably.
So I'll tell you what it is. It is just that instead of selecting, for example, when we are loading the CSV, we selected this CSV. If you are loading data from the SQL server, you just select this SQL server as the connector, and here you give the server name, database name, then click OK. Then it will show you all your tables in that server, and you choose one, whichever table you want to import the data, or the direct query. There are 2 options here when you connect to the relational databases: import query and direct query. Import query is it will import all the data from that table and it will load to the Power BI desktop, whereas direct query will not import that data. It will just make a connection to that table, and whenever you refresh, it will hit that database and fetch the data. So that's what it is. So other than that, all the transformations and everything, when you have data in the Power BI desktop or in the Power Query, it's all the same. Karthikeyan says, can we bring international sales table from query to Power BI and restrict ourselves to use international sales date in Power BI, or is it mandatory to make the italic in the in order to avoid loading the Power BI? See, you can bring it here, but why do you want to? After bringing it here, of course, you cannot disable it. It will still be there here in the Power BI desktop. That is one thing. But since that is redundant data, why do you want to bring it here? Actually, all your visuals that we create here in the Power BI desktop will depend, their efficiency will depend on how much data we have here in this Power BI desktop file. So if you have a lot of data, unnecessary data, your visuals will load slower. Okay, that is why we need to cut down data as much as possible in the Power Query editor itself. Okay, hope that answers your question, Karthikeyan. And Sija says, will you be explaining about how this data is populated in interactive dashboard? Yes, definitely. So tomorrow we will be working on creating the visuals and how to work with different visuals and how this data will interactively work and all of that. And it's going to be a very interesting tomorrow's session. Maybe for some of people, today's session would have been little boring, but this is very essential. That is what is the mistake everybody does when learning Power BI. We'll straightforward jump into the visualizing the data, but more important is transforming the data and bringing only the required data to the Power BI desktop. That is very, very important. Are we discussing model view tomorrow? Yes, definitely, Ashok. Can you repeat how international sales should be deleted? It is not deleting, it is just disabling. It will still be there here in your Power Query. Just right click on it and you see this enable load is enabled in your case. Just click that, it will disable. That's all.
Praveen, when we use append queries, will it automatically detect the join column? For example, you were explaining about the product ID. If there is another column which is matching, right? A zip column also was there. So will it join on both of the column, or will it only
there are that comes under modeling, and there are different criteria to create that relationship. Okay, so we'll discuss more on that tomorrow, but I can show you quickly since you asked that question. So go to the model view. If you see here, till now we just saw this and this data view, right? If you see the model view, see we have these many tables, and you can see 4 tables, and we have a relationship only between these 3. Okay, even if we have common columns here in this sales and geography, we have country as common column and zip as common column, but still the relationship is not created. Why and how do we tackle that? We'll see tomorrow.
Okay, and since most of the transformations have been, done in this in here itself, is there a way where we can, instead of, I saw an option where skipping the error rows, is there a way to, display only the error rows in a separate report, or the rejected rows, or the failed validations? For example, if a price should be greater than 500, so I want something which is less than 500 should be shown in different report. Is there any such based on few validations, can we create a different, or with the failed rows?
You can do that with the visualization also. Maybe that we will see tomorrow. Once we complete the visualizations, you will have answer to most of your questions. But if you want to restrict some of the data from Power Query editor to the Power BI desktop, you can do it from here. For example, let's say we have this revenue column. If you click on this drop down, here we have something called number filters. Okay, if you see here, let's say you want to only show where your revenue is more than some value. See, you can use this greater than and give some what is your greater than value, and it will filter data for that particular value. And once you close and apply in your Power BI desktop, here the data that you see will be only above that threshold value you have set. Below that will not be even available here in the Power BI desktop for you to create visuals. That is one thing. But if you want to see it in different categories, for example, if it is lesser than this, I want to see in this report. If it is greater than this, I want to see in this visual. That you can do in the visuals here. That we will see tomorrow. And also, let's say here in the date column, if you see, we have data starting from 2011 to 2018, right? Almost 7-8 years of data we have. What if you don't want all this information? Most of the cases, if you take data warehousing systems where we'll have 20-30 years of data, but for our reporting, we might not be needing all of that data. We just need only 2-3 years of data or max 5 years of data. So you can restrict that as well here. If you see here, if you click on this drop down, you see date filters. When I clicked on this revenue, you saw the number filters. Now when I'm clicking on this date column, you see date filters. You see, we have these many filters. Date equals to, date before, date after, date between, date in the next, in the previous, in the earliest. You can also, in year filter also you can do. Next year, this year, last year, year to date. You have so many filtering conditions. You can also filter your data by this. But if you filter data here, the filtered out data will not be available in the Power BI desktop. Correct? So if you are in the date column, you will see date filters. If you are in the integer column, you will see number filters. If you are in the text column, you will see text filters, like text contains, text begins with, ends with, text contains, does not end with, does not contain, something like that. Hope that answers your question. Anyways, what you see here, I forgot to tell you guys, what you see here is called as the M code. Every step we add here, there is some code being generated. If you see, if I click on source, there is this code in this kind of formula bar. If I click on this, there is one more line added. See, for every step, it is being added. So it is called as M code, M for mango. If you know M code, you don't have to do these things graphically. You just open Power Query editor, come to this advanced editor, type let and start typing your code and in, and then click done. So all these steps will be automatically added. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Please join on time because we have very limited time, and in that we have to cover so much of information, and I want to make you learn more things in 8 hours of time frame. So please, this is my humble request, join on time. See you tomorrow, and thank you so much for joining today's session. Bye-bye.